welcome. It is the school board's meeting tonight. However, we are starting at 5:30 with our awards and presentations. This is new to us. So at 6 o'clock, we will start the business meeting. At 5:30 is when we're going to start doing awards and presentations, since we love to celebrate what's happening in our schools. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have the first presentation, which is the sharing of information as a result of our partnership with the Learning Alliance. Now, I've been here for 26 months, and one of the things that we did upon my arrival is begin to look at partnerships. And what was exciting to me is a community that truly understands the value and importance of public education. And the Learning Alliance, in a huge way, has always been partners in our district. In a number of meetings with them upon the first few months that I was here, we asked for more. With as much as they gave, we asked for more. We wanted to ensure that we had instructional coaches in all of our elementary schools. We wanted to ensure that we had K-2 interventionists in all of our elementary schools. We wanted to expand our summer school offering, and we wanted to expand after-school services and support, all things that the Learning Alliance did. And at that time, they stepped up in a $1.3 million way, meaning they significantly took their budget and expanded it in order to partner with us to provide that level of support and service to our educators and teachers. And they're once again stepping up to support our educators and ultimately our students. The Learning Alliance has been around for going over 10 years. And that work has always been about ensuring when students finish that third grade year, they've hit the high mark of 90% of students scoring at level 3 or above. And the power of that 90% of students scoring at level 3 changes lives. And we want to do everything in our power in order to hit that number as quickly as possible. We have been working in partnership for 10 years to hit that number, but we don't want to wait another 10 years. One of our nation's problems, just not here in Indian River County, but across the nation, is that of teacher retention and recruiting and retaining high-quality, high-skilled educators. And when an individual comes into the field of education who has had training, they are 2.5 more times likely to stay and be successful in comparison to those who have had no training. 2.5 times more likely to leave the profession after the first year. So Learning Alliance, once again, is going to significantly enhance their investment in our children in working with us over the course of the next 2 years to create a Moonshot Academy, a Moonshot School, where we'll be able to leverage their contributions to provide support to our students and really focus in on new teachers coming into our profession, providing high levels of support over the course of the year to create a lab school in which we can take all educators across our county and ask them to come in and look and see what's taking place at this school. We'll be able to provide what we call a principal coach, someone 100% of their time available to coach and support principals. We have that coach and supporting for teachers, but let's do it for principals as well. Let's do it for assistant principals as well. We often talk about data in our school district as being one of our superpowers. But if you don't have the ability to know how to maximize that data to drive and improve instruction, you will not be as successful as you possibly could be. So a data coach to help understand and use this data, just not to understand, but to inform instruction. So we're very excited about creating a Moonshot School over the next 2 years, a significant contribution being provided by the Learning Alliance. This will be a learning school. This will be a hub that will determine where it will be located, and we'll use it as a model across our district and ultimately across our nation on how to create a system that really provides the highest level of support for our educators. And we're very excited that we can do this with the Learning Alliance. I don't know if someone from the Learning Alliance wants to speak, but I see Megan back there, Liz back. Come on.
Liz Remington.
Liz Remington is coming to co-founder.
This is an incredible opportunity, to your point, 10 years in the making. 10 years in the making. This is an unprecedented public-private partnership that could only be accomplished through the incredible leadership of Dr. Moore and the support of the people in this room. So our goal is to be the literacy capital of the nation and to be a model, and I think we are well on our way to do it. So thank you.
Thank you. And now I'll turn it over to Ms. Maddox for presentation number 2.
Good evening, everyone, and we are very excited to have our own special half hour before the business meeting now to recognize all of our students and staff and community members that are doing awesome things in our district. And we have just a few monthly initiatives that I want to mention. February was Black History Month, and it was also CTE Month. Now we have a very special video coming up about one of our Black History Month programs, but first I'm going to talk a little bit about CTE Month. CTE Month is Career and Technical Education Month. And earning an industry certification that leads to post-secondary credit through career and technical education programs in Indian River County schools can save families hundreds or even thousands of dollars in college tuition and fees. We are very proud of the CTE opportunities at Vero Beach High School, Sebastian River High School, and Treasure Coast Technical College. Now, if I could please have Ms. Felicia Brown and Dr. Robinson come to the podium, and while they're walking up, I'm going to explain why they are, come on guys, coming. A few months ago, it seemed like a few months ago, Ms. Brown emailed me and she said, you know, we've got this really outstanding program and could you get us some publicity? And I saw it and I thought it was, you came to the right person. And I heard about it and she had it all organized. So easy to work with, thank you so much. But anyways, she was recognizing the African American Unsung Heroes, which was recognizing our Black law enforcement officers who have made a difference here in our county, and I'll let her say a few words about it.
Hi everyone, I'm a bit nervous, so please forgive me. So again, my name is Felicia Brown. What the idea of this program, it was dear to me because I thought about a lot of my family members who are law enforcement officers. And actually 3 in particular, is that officers who actually passed away, you know, not in the line of duty. One was in the line of duty, but of course, a lot of them were related to me and dedicated a lot of years in Indian River County serving and protecting our community, just like all officers do every single day. And sometimes we tend to forget about those particular things. And so Black History Month, with it being Black History Month, we do have to just recognize not just Black history, but all history pertaining to our police officers and give them the respect that they deserve. And I just wanted to recognize one of the programs of just recognizing our African American unsung heroes within our county, and appreciate them by honoring all of the county, you know, police officers within our Indian River, and to just basically talk about the historical figures. So the first Black police officer here in Indian River County was Deputy Dallas Yates, and he pretty much is unsung because pertaining to some of the articles and news articles that were presented, you know, back in 2015, there hasn't been anything else pertaining to that. And a lot of our kids have been talking about him and wanted to know the history of Gifford, want to know the history of Vero Beach. And as a history teacher at the time, during George Floyd, it was something that our students were curious about and wanted to know more information about. So, of course, this kind of was out of my realm, and I wanted the community to come out and educate. And so that was the purpose of the Unsung Heroes event. But with the thanks of Mr. Eric Seatmore and, you know, Dr. Robinson, you know, and of course the school board members and the community, it came out to be a success. So I'm gonna let Dr. Robinson have the floor to be able to speak.
I'd just like to say that it was a great event and opportunity for me, myself, to learn a lot of history, not only about the unsung heroes, but just the history of and some of the experience of all of our officers in Indian River County, whether black, white, Hispanic, whoever, to how they go out each day. And we wanted to just recognize each and every one of them and give them honor and respect and thank them for all that they do to keep us safe here. And so it was a great opportunity, and we're grateful that Dr. Moore and the board members allowed us to have such an event, and everyone from the community or the sheriff's officer, local police officers, some were retired, some was going into retirement, they all came out and they all shared into this event, and we just had a great time, and I'm very grateful and honored for that. Thank you.
Now, before you sit down, hold. We have some, come back, and don't trip on that on your way back. We have a certificate of appreciation for working so hard on this program. For Ms. Brown, thank you very much, and for Dr. Robinson, thank And now we have our video of the moments we captured from that amazing event.
Today's event was the Unsung Heroes of Indian River County African American law enforcement. We are acknowledging all of our law enforcement, of course, but we're definitely acknowledging our African American law enforcement who are not highly recognized in our county. In this event, we wanted to recognize the fallen heroes, as well as recognizing all of the heroes in our event and just idolizing all of the African American achievements within the departments.
I think it's great. Again, it just really hones in on the representation of everything, showing kind of like where it all started to where it's at now, going from not so great times with, Sheriff Yates or Deputy Yates was the first one. He can only patrol certain areas, can only arrest certain types of people, to now, the diversity comes in. Our opinions, our decisions are valued, they're taken seriously, they're upheld to the same standards as any other individual out here. I think it's great that we're honoring that, kind of seeing how hard it was back then and seeing how things are now and just being grateful for that change.
With the month of February being Black History Month, what time is better than now? And as Indian River County School District, as well as Oslo Middle School, believe in always educating our student and being student-centered, I think it is very important, as I say oftentimes, that sometimes people walk away with one half or one side of the story and never have the whole story. So by educating our students as well as our community, we will get the whole totality of what African Americans have played in our law enforcement, and we want to honor not only our African American law enforcement officers, but we also want to honor all of our law enforcement officers in this event.
My mission is to make sure that all students are educated from this event. I want them to be able to look at it from a different perspective in law enforcement. Everyone decided to take an oath. Those officers, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, they took an oath to serve our country, to serve our community, and that is an ultimate sacrifice. We want students to really honor that part and how to make sure that you don't give up, you keep going, you keep pressing forward. Yes, it is Black History Month, but it's everyone's history. We want to not only just acknowledge our black officers, but we want to acknowledge all of our officers because all of our officers contribute to Black history.
So after attending this event, I just feel like it would bring a positive change to the way other kids in the community see police officers and other law enforcement. And it would just bring a change to the way people think of police officers and see them in a new way.
I'm very excited because there are people in the department, previous and past, or some currently still there, that has done a lot for the community and needs to be recognized. So with this being said, that in the African American community, let people know, as well as kids, know that there are African American law enforcement officers out there, and they're here for you.
So we really truly thank everyone who participated, especially, of course, the School District of Indian River County for giving us the opportunity to sponsor this event at this time. So thank you so much.
you again, and thank you to our officers who are here tonight serving. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Thanks very much. Another district initiative was School Counselor Week. We had National School Counseling Week. It was the week of February 7th through the 11th to focus the nation's attention on the unique contribution of school counselors within U.S. school systems. National School Counseling Week, sponsored by the American School Counselors Association, highlights the tremendous impact school counselors can have in helping students achieve school success and plan for a career. National School Counseling Week is always celebrated the first full week in February, and the 2022 theme was School Counseling Better Together. Our school celebrated school counseling by taking part in the 2022 National School Counseling Week Photo Challenge, by taking pictures to recognize how they are better together and posting to the SDIRC Student Services Twitter account. So thank you to all of our school counselors. Okay, we have a very special recognition for our Teacher and Employee of the Year, and before we play the amazing video, I want to recognize Mr. Sean Conway and Mr. Jason Banks. Yep, we had a sweep this year, and VBE won both the Teacher of the Year and the Employee of the Year for the district. Congratulations. And Mr. Conway, he disappointed me a little bit tonight because I thought they might be wearing their Saturday Night Fever outfits, but they didn't. So they're just dressed, normally, which is boring, but that's okay. So we have a really awesome video for everyone. Go ahead.
Employee of the Year. And that individual is from Vero Beach Elementary School, Jason Banks.
At first I was like, man, did they just say my name? And I was just overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, I did it, and it was, thanks to all the people that I work with, my co-workers, for voting me for being Employee of the Year. And now to represent the district is going to be such a great honor.
We have a clean sweep from Vero Beach Elementary School, Sean Conway.
Being announced as District Teacher of the Year was just so overwhelming, and I'm so grateful and I'm humbled by it. I know that all of us teachers, we're in this together, and I know that we all work really hard each and every day, and this is a community that I really love to be a part of, and I'm so thankful that we get to do this together. My favorite part about being a part of Vero Beach Elementary is just the fact that we have this tribe that we call ourselves. We're a family together. We love working together. We know that we have each other's backs. Even recently going through a hardship with my family and my dad being in the hospital, it just showed me how much people care. It's just a great thing that extends beyond just the four walls of our school. Jason and I are very excited to be able to sweep tonight and to do this together. We even planned our outfits together to be able to celebrate together as brothers and as coworkers, and it's just such an exciting thing for all of us to celebrate tonight.
You thought I was kidding about the outfits, but I wasn't. They did not disappoint at the gala. They had a lot of fun. They made the whole night even more fun dressing up in those outfits. So thank you and congratulations again to VBE and to Sean Conway and Jason Banks. Okay, each month we select an organization in our county, and this past year we have gone local with our organizations. There's so many different ones here in our county that could use our support, and last month we had Gifford Youth Achievement Center. And we would like to present Gifford Youth Achievement Center with $2,242.50. And Storm Grove Middle did raise the most money, $385.73, so congratulations, Storm Grove, Miss Bieber. And I believe Mr. Wolfork is Miss Perry here tonight? Or are you here alone? Okay, Mr. Wolfork, please come to the podium. This big fake check for you. And you get to keep it this time. Yes, you get to keep it, and we'll give you real ones too. So this is on behalf of all the students and teachers and staff members at our district. We're honored to be able to share this with you. So.
I got it. Exactly. In the mail.
Right here. There you go.
I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you so very much. We're not a stranger to the Indian River County School District. We've been hooked at the hip since 1996, when we first came up with the concept of the Gifford Youth Achievement Center with the acronym GYAC, Giving Youth a Chance. And that's what we're all about, and that's what the school district is all about. We are stronger together. Thank you so much. Appreciate you much.
All right, a couple more presentations. We have a brand new student recognition initiative that we are bringing to the board meeting tonight for the first time. It is called our Student Spotlight. And tonight we would like to recognize two students from Storm Grove Middle School, and they did the Plant the Moon NASA Challenge. Now, the Plant the Moon Challenge is a global science experiment and competition to see who can grow the best crops using lunar, I can't even say it, using lunar, say it girls, thank you. Participating students design and conduct their own plant growth experiments, which are then evaluated by a team of subject matter experts. Now, when I watched the video earlier today, I honestly couldn't believe that we had students in this district. I know we have some super talented students, but this is like astronaut type stuff. I mean, they were amazing. So we have a very cool video, and after the video, I will introduce you to these wonderful young women.
Hi, my name is Gabriella.
Hi, my name is Caitlin.
We are the Storm Grove Stingrays,
and we planted the moon. Our science teacher, Miss Sleeper, introduced this NASA competition with us, and we entered it because we both love planting and space. When we entered the NASA competition, NASA sent us lunar regolith, which is like soil that is interpreted as what the soil on the moon is.
We were looking at studies and other stuff like that to see which crop would grow best so that we can choose a crop, and we chose quinoa.
Quinoa can grow in poor conditions and high altitudes, and that works really great with the moon because it's in high altitude, and the atmosphere of the moon is poor, so.
And it has high minerals and vitamins included in it, and you can eat it in different ways.
Along with testing if they could grow in lunar regolith, our independent variable was if we put seeds on the plasma ball for different amount of times, if that would affect their growth rate. The seeds that were on the plasma ball for 1 minute grew the tallest.
It took about 3 months, and we would stay most days after school to take care of them and to water them.
We were just really happy that they were actually growing.
We saw that the 1 minute we're actually like growing the tallest. They came to like, I think like 11 or 12 centimeters. So we were actually like pretty happy to see that because we thought this would never work.
Along with doing the NASA project, we turned it into our school science fair project. We won second place at the school science fair, and then we went to regionals and we won first place. The coolest thing about this project is that for Plant the Moon project for NASA, we won first place for most innovative. We were like so grateful. It was like such a big reward because we spent 3 or 4 months on this. It was like nice to get the recognition. Our project showed that quinoa is able to grow on the moon, and then that can lead to more crops growing on the moon, which can lead to possibly humans living on the moon.
Next year, we want to continue this project to see if like we can do it better.
And we can also add more trials with like longer amounts on the plasma ball to see if that helps it grow more or less, or adding the plasma ball in different ways.
My name is Gabriella.
My name is Caitlin.
And we planted the moon.
I told you it was amazing. I can't even cook quinoa, and they're growing it in moon soil. I think my last science experiment was something with corn muffins and baking powder. So let's welcome these geniuses up here, Caitlin and Gabriella.
Congratulations, girls. Girls.
We're looking forward to seeing what comes next. All right, last but not least, we have our Vero Beach High School girls weightlifting team presentation. Now, please help us congratulate the Vero Beach High School girls weightlifting team on winning the 2022 FHSAA State Championships in the Snatch on February 10th. So 14 girls on the Vero Beach girls weightlifting team traveled to Port St. John High School to compete, and coaches Brian Seacrest and Pete DeLuke coached their team to a victory in the individual events. Also in the traditional meet, 12 of these girls competed, and Sarah Eisworth finished first place, Avery Teskey finished fifth, and Ayana Harrington finished second in the respective weight classes. Overall, the team finished fourth, so congratulations, ladies.
First of all, I would like to thank the school board for recognizing us here tonight, and also these girls worked very hard throughout the whole entire year. I'm so proud of them. Coach Seacrest and I are so proud of them, and the parents are, and I know the Indian River County School Board and community is all proud of these girls tonight. Thank you.
Good job.
Fun fact, Coach DeLuke was my PE coach in middle school.
I won't tell a story.
Don't tell the story. Please don't. Oh, picture.
Thank you.
Good job, ladies. Congratulations.
I enjoyed watching regionals. That was fun. Well done, well done. Good job, Peter. Cling, cling.
Here are all the medals.
I know.
We've got a lot of them. And that concludes our presentation, 6 o'clock on the dot. Thank you.
Explain. It is 6:05. We're going to start the business meeting at this time. Welcome, everyone. We are at the Joanne Idolette Junior Teacher Education Center. This is the meeting of the school board business meeting, and it is February 28th, and it is 6:05. We will begin our meeting now. At this time, we'd like to have everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to give them a round of applause. The Pledge of Allegiance was led by Vero Beach High School's Air Force Junior ROTC Detachment 043 under the direction of Wade E. Dews, Chief Master Sergeant, retired, and USAF, and Dean Rasdale, retired Major, USAF. Thank you for your service. Okay, at this point, I'm going to ask for the adoption of the orders of the day. Board members, is there anyone that wishes to move something from consent to action? Okay, is Mr. Barefoot on Zoom? Okay, all right, thank you. Teams, I should say. All right, since there are no items moving from consent to action, I'd like to call for a motion to accept the orders of the day.
So move. Second.
Okay, Dr. Jones on the first and Dr. Schiff on the second, okay? And any discussion?
Yes. Not discussion, I just wanted to have something to say.
Okay.
No?
Yes.
I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention, if you haven't already known right now, one of the items on the consent is the approval of the math instructional materials recommendation for 2022 adoption period. Right now, this is not a vote for the actual curriculum. This is just a recommendation. Dr. Moore, if I say it wrong, please correct me. This is just a recommendation for several of the books that were currently under review. We have yet to receive information from the DOE as to which book curriculum items are approved by the DOE. So as for now, we are basically in a waiting period. We should approve a final curriculum on April 25th or at our April 25th meeting for final adoption at that time. Prior to that, we should hear from the DOE. And obviously, as soon as we hear from the DOE, we will let the public know what the final decisions were at that point. For those of you who have concerns over the math curriculum or some of the issues with the math curriculum, We want to thank you for providing your input. There is still what we talked about at our last meeting, and Mr. Meyer confirmed. If you still have any concerns over some of the curriculum that are there, you are still free to email all board members, Mr. Meyer, and of course, Dr. Moore, and let us know of your concerns so that as we move forward, we can hear from the public on what that might be. Dr. Moore, would you like to add anything to that?
Well said.
Thank you.
Okay, I would actually like to add something to that. I actually had a conversation with Jacob Oliva this morning, who is the K-12 Chancellor for Education. I asked him about if the committee is going to take concerns of citizens into understanding because they have the ability to ask a publisher to change an item before it's printed. Once it's printed and we adopt it, we don't have that right. So that's where it happens up at the state. He asked me to resend an email that a citizen had sent to me, and I did that this morning from Mrs. Meal, and he accepted that and appreciated the input. So I wanted to let you know that that's still being discussed up there, and they are looking at the concerns that citizens have. Okay, with that being said, anyone else?
Yes, ma'am. I think sometimes we're remiss that we don't acknowledge the donations we receive every month. And I would like to get in the habit of doing that.
Please.
We had over $22,000 in donations this month. And I want to acknowledge Sebastian Little League, the Marks Families, the Education Foundation, LaShonda's Companion Care, AYS Employee Leasing, and the Beachland Elementary PTA. Thank you for your contributions. We could not do all of this without you. Thank you.
Dr. Jones?
I was good with the consent item. Yep.
Okay. At this time, I'll ask for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, it passes 4-0. All right, so, board members, we, at our last workshop, we had all agreed to the new change in our script and our protocols. So because of that, there's a script bullet point that I'm going to read, okay, so that it can keep me on track and also all of us on the track of what we all agreed to. So the first one says, school board members are expected to model appropriate behavior, including courtesy, active listening, and respect. The second one says, during board business meetings, each school board member has a right to initially present on an item for up to 10 minutes. Tonight, that doesn't happen because no one's presenting an item. Following the initial presentation of the item, each board member may initially comment on the topic for up to 3 minutes. The discussion will continue in a round-robin fashion until the discussion is complete. The board chairperson asks for a vote, or a board member calls the question without interrupting another board member. In order to hold true to our protocols, I've asked the school board attorney to keep time, even for us. The board, it's too much to keep track of, I guess, for me. The board chairperson retains the sole authority to call on board members to speak. Those were the items that we all agreed to. Okay? All right, at this time, I'm going to ask for citizen input. And with citizen input, make sure that we understand the following guidelines. And I need to read the guidelines for everyone's understanding. Each statement made by a member of the public shall be limited to 3 minutes in duration. Persons will be recognized in the order in which the requests were received. The time shall start when the speaker is at the podium, and the school board attorney will be the official timekeeper. You will hear a beep at the end of your 3 minutes. Persons may speak up for up to 3 minutes at the beginning of the business meeting during citizen input as indicated on the order of business, and for up to 3 minutes to each action item during the action agenda, and each board member discussion item as indicated on the order of business. Persons may only speak once about a given item. The time period may be extended by the presiding officer. Only the individual submitting a speaker's form is allowed to address the board. Time may not be yielded to other speakers. During the meeting, please refrain from clapping or outbursts of any sort so that we may proceed with dignity and decorum by not infringing on anyone's individual First Amendment rights. I need to remind everyone to direct all comments to the chair, not to the individual board members or to the superintendent. Board members may or may not address any citizen input statements at the end of the citizen input comments. As board members listen to citizens without interruption, citizens are asked to give board members the same respect. as per Florida Statute 1001.372, subsection 3, the presiding officer of any district school board may order the removal from a public meeting held by the district school board of any person interfering with the expeditious or orderly process of such meeting, provided such officer is first issued a warning that continued interference with the orderly process of the meeting will result in removal. With all that said, we will start. I will call one name and the person that is on deck, and that is your microphone.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
This change in the time just occurred at our last workshop. And it's my understanding that a lot of citizens are not aware. Even though it was posted, a lot of citizens were not aware. So I'm just worrying that we have so many citizens here and no one had a chance to actually submit their citizen input form on time, unknowing of the new changes. So I would like to ask board members, I don't know what the process is, but to give everybody an opportunity so that if they have any forms that were not submitted, that they would be able to submit those forms.
So I'm going to ask the attorney for this, since this is a legal question. Now,
I don't think it's a legal question. I think it's a procedural question.
which is legal for us?
Thank you, Chairwoman. I would say that we have a policy that's been adopted, so we should abide by our new policy, and that there was notice of the new policy, that it was adopted at a public meeting, so that all the notice requirements for adopting that policy have been made, and for members of the public to please keep that in mind in the future in submitting their forms. Thank you.
Okay, so technically it is a policy, correct, not a procedure?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
So what about those people who were standing outside who weren't able to get in? Who literally had their forms at the door and weren't allowed to hand them in because doors were closed by police?
When did that happen?
We had too many people in here. I watched it.
Okay, let me ask a question. Were they allowed to bring them into the lobby?
Through the chair, the board adopted a new policy. The policy dictated 5:45 was the starting time. Forms are not submitted inside of this room, they're submitted outside of this room. So that there weren't a matter of being able to come in here, you submit the forms outside in the window we all come in when we sign in. So that shouldn't have been an issue.
Okay, that's good.
Nobody was there. That's what we're told. That's what they're saying.
After 5:45.
Was someone there at the window up until 5:45?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's go with the policy.
So we have a policy in place. We are stating that we had somebody at the window at 5:45. Where's the window that you're referring to?
This is the window that we've been using for the past few months. Reception area, Sarah sits in there, and 5:45 was the cutoff time.
Staff follow the policy as it is. I don't want staff to question or their integrity questioned. They did as the policy was written. They remained there till 5:45, at which time, implementing the policy, it was implemented. So if we could proceed, I would appreciate it.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I'm not going to take questions, ma'am, sorry. We have a policy in place, board members. We have one board member that is concerned about this. You know, I'm concerned that people don't have the right to speak if they choose to speak. A hard line is a hard line. I want to support policy. I want to support employees doing their job. I understand people could be frustrated because they didn't know. My only concern is whether or not they knew to get it to where they needed to be by 5:45. Was that put in the new policy or the format? I'm sorry?
And it was appropriately advertised.
Okay. So it was online, it was on the door that they needed to submit them to where? The reception area by 5:45. Okay. I'm going to ask then that we're going to stick to the policy. Anyone that does not get to speak tonight, if you would please put your concerns in writing and hand them to us, I would appreciate it. Okay? And then we will put them, we can always bring those into the record, correct?
Yes, and we'll share with the
Okay.
board.
So we can bring those into the record and share those with the board, all right? I am letting lots of people speak, sir. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to start with Tammy Bogart, and on deck will be Maureen Weisberg. Excuse me. Whoever just said that, that is your warning. Who said that? Thank you. Okay, so I'd just like to know, where is our police officer? Okay, you got a couple. Thank you. All right, so we are going to be respectful of the speakers, please, and we're going to be respectful of this room. Thank you. All right, our first speaker, thank you, Tammy Bogart. The floor is yours.
Good evening. I've been a resident and a taxpayer of Indian River County for 35 years and have 2 adult children who attended high school in Vero Beach. I'm here this evening to implore you to please follow the law and keep the list of prohibited books off the shelves in our public schools until they can be reviewed by a qualified panel to determine if they are in compliance with state law. Since you as school board members are charged with abiding by Florida state statutes, I'm perplexed as to why so many seem to think this should be left up to the court of public opinion. The state statutes are clear, and while we don't have to agree with the law, we are obligated to abide by them. Let me also remind you that it's clear and, and succinctly communicated in Florida's obscenity statute 847 that any adult who knowingly distributes obscene content to a minor on school property is guilty of committing a felony in the 3rd degree. As a taxpayer, I'm disappointed that I have to come before you yet again to plead with you to follow the law. Your blatant disregard for the law and the governor's executive order regarding mandatory masking is now going to cost the district millions of dollars. That's just irresponsible. So I beg of you to please choose the correct course of action in this situation, set the right example, follow the law, and act responsibly with the taxpayers' money so as not to expose the school district or the taxpayers of Indian River County to costly, unnecessary, and avoidable lawsuits. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Maureen Weisberg, followed by Arlene Jameson.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Maureen Weisberg, president of the local 3180 CWA. To Dr. Moore and our esteemed school board members, the folders you just received are newspaper articles from different school districts in Florida who gave their support staff bonuses for their professional standards and moral ethics during COVID-19. For example, Viera, Florida. The Brevard School Board is pleased to announce that all Brevard public school employees will receive a one-time recognition payment. Port St. Lucie, Florida. Thousands of St. Lucie public school employees will receive $1,000 COVID-19 disaster relief bonuses for all their employees. Today, we continue to face the stress and issues of COVID-19 with the employee shortages due to illness and the ever-rising cost of living, made worse due to the issues abroad and inflation. We ask that you remember we were there when you needed us, going out with no vaccine in sight, operating through a complex and dangerous new normal, as we decontaminated classrooms and bused food to hungry families in truly hazardous and unprecedented times. Our work, which was deemed essential and was instrumental in allowing our students, teachers, and administration to return to school in the safest way possible. Our service to the community of Indian River County, which we continue to provide for our students, parents, and coworkers. It is with this in mind that we now ask that you be there for us by recognizing and compensating the contributions of your amazing support staff of Indian River County. The CWA has made a proposal for $1,250 bonuses for all the CWA employees. We ask that you do what is right and support our request for the COVID-19 bonuses for the support staff of Indian River County, as other counties have already done. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Please no clapping. Please no clapping. Please no clapping. Thank you. Arlene Jamison is next. Michael C. Marsh is on deck.
Hi. Just some background. I was an English literature major. I always loved reading. I loved words. I was one of those kids who read 10 books a day every day in the summer and couldn't wait to go to the young adult section of my town library. I became a corporate speechwriter, an editor, and was a former teacher. And I just want to say that I can't imagine anything more important than the pursuit of knowledge and expanding these kids' minds and broadening their horizons. And I do agree that elementary school children should not be reading sexually explicit books. But kids 12 and up should know what rape is, should know that homosexuality does exist, that the Holocaust did occur, and that racism and slavery were part of our past. And to some degree, we know that prejudice in many forms still does exist. But I think we're on a slippery slope here. If you've read Animal Farm, 1984, Fahrenheit 451, or studied Nazi Germany, you know it's a short walk from banning to burning books. And didn't a pastor in Tennessee last year create a bonfire to burn Harry Potter books because they contain magic? Really? When I taught 5th grade a million years ago, the 10-year-old kids in my class, the boys would come in with Playboy magazine in their pockets until they were confiscated. And the topic of conversation was often which female teachers wore bras and which didn't.
Ma'am.
That's what kids do. And that was 50 plus years ago, which compares nothing to the porn that is so readily accessible today and the music lyrics that are out there. But those kids turned out fine. And the same way that I and my friends somehow got a dog-eared copy of Lady Chatterley's Lover at age 13, and somehow we turned out okay. The point is to ban books, including Nobel Prize winners in literature, is just another form of censure. And do we want to be like China or Russia or North Korea? If parents want their children to read certain books or not, why can't you just tell the librarians and the teachers to not allow it? But I don't think you have any right to prevent other people's children, especially high schoolers.
Thank you,
from
ma'am.
reading them.
Your time. Oh.
No, it wasn't.
Hold on. I don't know whose beep it was, but I heard the beep. I'm sorry.
It said I had 22
Yeah,
seconds.
you get more time. Sorry.
Okay, I'm almost done.
Go ahead.
Let's allow the teachers, the librarians, the curriculum people, the Board of Ed to do their jobs and decide what is truly prurient, has literary merit, or no redeeming qualities. I mean, of Mice and Men, I just find that shocking. And if that is not I have one sentence.
Go ahead.
Thank you. If that's not a good enough solution, maybe your child should be in parochial school, or maybe you should homeschool them. But I think our tax dollars should not go towards encouraging your limited viewpoints. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, Arlene Jamison is next. Or, I'm sorry, Michael Marsh is next. Susan Lovelace is on deck.
Good evening, Michael C. Marsh, President of Team Success and your MPO School District Alternate. I want to tell you about another great event for Valentine's Day. Unfortunately, Ms. Ida Lett's not here tonight, but Team Success on Valentine's Day, we had our tasty treat to transportation. I want to thank all the board very much who helped with that. I want to thank Dunkin' Donuts. You know, we went out over 150 of those hardworking individuals at transportation. And to see their faces, as Ms. Iolette is saying, hey, come here. I mean, and some of you were there, thank you, Madam Chair. And it was just beautiful. It is so nice to see how much Miss Idolette is appreciated over at Transportation, and it was a joy for us. It's on our calendar for every year to come. Also, during that mental health week, Team Success went over to Osceola Magnet School, and we took care of their mental health counselor, brought a delicious lunch. And then we went over to Oslo Middle School, another wonderful school. We saw Dr. Robinson tonight, and we took care of those counselors as well. Now, having said all that, I want to clear up a little disinformation about my charity. I work very hard. Over 954 meals were given out on Thanksgiving Day. And it is disgusting to have to hear that we have to keep having this conversation about water. For crying out loud, when does it stop? I am so sorry that we took in that expired water, all $70 of it, but it must stop. And if it doesn't stop, well, we'll send another cease and desist out to, I guess, a board member. But it's really disgusting that people from the school district of Indian River County who came out to help feed the homeless, that they have to wonder and say, can we team up with Michael Marsh and Team Success? Of course you can. There's no more bullying here in the school district of Indian River County. And I'll make sure of it. I promise that. Because I work very hard with our charity. Okay? Thousands of people on Thanksgiving Day. Needless to say, all the other events that your school district staff is a part of. Wonderful men and women. And we have to keep having the conversation about, where's the water? Piecemeal, I'm not done yet. You're done. You're done. Because I'll keep coming, and we can keep playing this game. But you know what? I'm so sorry that we took that water, all $70. How did it get there? Well, it's none of no one's business how it got there. Because we could keep doing our research, but I'm sick of it. It's disgusting. So once again, I'm sorry that we took in the water. The canned goods were collected. Thank you very much to Communications, the Finance Department, who took in the most, and we're going to give them that pizza party very soon. But it shouldn't have to come to this. Keep the politics out. As nonprofits, we don't get into this disgusting political pandering, okay? It needs to stop. I wear this shirt very proudly, and many of you support my organization. And some of you used to support the organization. It needs to stop. And then I'll stop. I'm tired of coming. But I will defend my charity every step of the way. As far as books go, that's going to be on the other part of the agenda. You guys have a great night. Once again, thank you and love you.
All right, Mr. Marsh, thank you. Susan Lovelace, and on deck is Maureen Schlosser.
Good evening, Dr. Moore, members of the board.
Hold
My
on,
name
hold
is
on,
Susan.
hold on. Yeah, we can't hear you, mostly because of the rain.
Oh. All right. Good evening. My name is Susan Lovelace, and I retired in 2016 from 20 years of successfully teaching higher level English in Indian River County's prestigious International Baccalaureate program at Sebastian River High School. I taught works on banned and challenged book lists both at the high school and college level, because at one time or another, almost all titles that exemplify literary merit in an educated society have ended up on these lists. What is literary merit? It's the recognition that works are not only academically challenging and generate in-depth literary analysis, but also serve as powerful tools for promoting critical thinking, engaged discussion, and the development of empathetic responses in students. All great literature mines uncomfortable content: racial and social injustice, sexuality and gender issues, poverty, the atrocities of war, post-colonial tensions. Books written by Allende, Ibsen, Steinbeck, Morrison, O'Brien, William Shakespeare's plays, and even the Bible occupy spaces on various banned book lists. I concur, there are books that do not belong on any high school library shelves, as the content is sensationalized, offensive, and has little literary merit. Unfortunately, students can easily access truly disturbing content on their phones and computers away from adult eyes and support at any time of the day or night. It's far worse than what they are reading, if indeed they are reading, and that's a parental monitoring issue beyond school control. What's more concerning is that so many of today's students rarely engage reading at a deep academic level. They're attached to ocular-centric world of quick answer, effortless computer screens that are titillating and sadly addictive. But that's another problem altogether. The situation serves as a cautionary tale. for the district to spend precious time and resources reviewing numerous challenge books rather than addressing more compelling academic needs, such as engaging students in proactive reading and writing, is counterproductive. Organizing banned book drives is a clever guise for covering deeper, often sinister, political agendas. Ask Hitler, or the Taliban, or Putin. Then read about the consequences of such societal oppression in challenged books such as Orwell's 1984, Huxley's Brave New World, and Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. The IB Learner Profile describes a broad range of human capacities and responsibilities that go beyond academic success. We need to strive to teach students how to be inquirers, knowledgeable thinkers, communicators, principled, open-minded, caring, balanced, and respectful citizens. I've seen hundreds of students emerge from close studies of banned and challenged books exhibiting these positive attributes.
Thank you. Appreciate it very
Thank
much. Okay. Maureen Slosser is next. Rhea McKenna is after that.
Good evening. My name is Maureen Schlosser, and I am a citizen of Indian River County. The Indian River County School District's motto is Stronger Together. Stronger Together is the principle that guides our learning community. It is the reason why we are all welcome here this evening. Stronger Together is more than just words. We see the results of being stronger together with efforts like the innovative preschool outreach program, the partnership with the Learning Alliance, and the efforts to engage learners, parents, and the community with advisory groups. It's positive initiatives like these that need everyone's support to benefit our learning community. Indian River County School District is modeling what Stronger Together looks like. When tasked with reviewing over 150 books, the district worked together to find a solution. Mr. Meyer formed a collaborative team of school librarians and other experts. Together, they followed a democratic process to review the books. The team listened to concerns from the community. They sought legal counsel. They read each book and considered different points of view. I can only imagine the toll this took on the team, their families, and the learning community. But I am thankful that they embraced the process and stayed stronger together. I am proud of their work in defending free thought and expression. I'm grateful that the work will continue. I'm thankful for the communication about the review process and the recommendations. I look forward to addressing some points on the agenda, and I know everyone here can agree that we appreciate having our voices heard. Let's stay stronger together as an entire community. Let's support the school librarians as they build a diverse and inclusive collection for our learners. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Rhea McKenna is next,
Yes.
and on deck is Cindy Gibbs.
Hi, good evening. Thank you all for your time and your effort for our community. I grew up hearing, if you don't like it, don't look at it, so you know where I lean, all right? I didn't grow up hearing, if you don't like it, burn it. If you don't like it, bury it. If you don't like it, get rid of it. If you don't like it, don't look, all right? Knowledge is power. That's an old one. We all know that. I hope it remains true. When the written word is squelched, impeded, or hindered, what happens to knowledge, awareness, understanding, and enlightenment? It is squelched. And by banning books, you are banning conversations. Dialogue is paramount to progress and humanity. The elimination of these books will not eliminate the reality that is in them. The world we live in is reality. These books are reality. These parents are removing themselves from their children's reality. Parents are the ultimate teacher. I do not understand why these parents don't want to assist their child in understanding these issues. The content in these books is not new. Pornography is not new. LGBTQ is not new. Race relations is not new. Pornography is evil. It rewires a young person's brain. The perception of intimacy becomes distorted to the nth degree. If the adult is not there to interpret this exposure to pornography, who will? Their friends? Creatures they meet online? Pornography will not disappear if the book is removed. Pornography sits in the palm of their hand. It's called the cell phone. What are the parents doing about that? Maybe these groups can't handle the sex talk. That's on them. It's not on the bookshelf. LGBTQ. I searched the internet. I put in what great philosophers and thinkers were gay. Well, I can still say the word, right? Okay. Fascinating, the first date documented was 2450 BC. They were two Egyptian overseers of manicurists in the royal palace. See, LGBTQ is not new. The refusal to see this community as reality is also not new. Some of the greatest minds then and now are from the LGBTQ community. Are people still afraid it is an affliction and it could rub off? Personally, I find this so ignorant. We are in the 21st century and still cannot accept the fact that we are one race on one planet. But by God, we profess to love our neighbor. I find the shame here in the fact these adults do not want to be available to help their children understand these issues. When an individual tries to control others...
Thank you. We appreciate your time.
It is because, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that's fine.
We appreciate your time.
I can't wait for them to ban peanut butter.
Thank you. Please. Let's be good examples for the students that may be watching. Cindy Gibbs is next. Mary Dulcie is on deck.
Good evening. I find it really interesting that we're having a conversation tonight about books being removed from a library at the same time we're celebrating the reemergence of the Learning Alliance partnership with our school district. Working with the Learning Alliance firsthand, watching children's lives be transformed by the increase in the literacy skills that they had in the classroom was just absolutely magical to watch. The concept that we would have a group of people who are still angry about books that are just topics that they disagree with being removed from libraries. In civilized society, it's just mortifying. One or two sentences doesn't make the whole book. I do want to also celebrate, though, lots of other things I've seen lately, and I did attend the CTE celebration at Storm Grove Middle School, and it was unbelievably cool. Just the neatest thing ever. Both of my children were with me. They were really inspired, and I hope that lots of people went and got to see all of the good things that happen in this school district. Right now, I'm really not surprised about how much violence there is in our schools because look at this room. So if the adults in these kids' lives can't speak to each other with civility and respect, we need to work on our role modeling. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. Mary Dulcie is next. Shayla Edwards is on deck. Mary Dulcie. Dulcie, sorry.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mary Dotsey. I work for the School District of Indian River County at Sebastian River High. I'm a lunch lady, but I'm also the VP of Food Service for their local 3180 CWA. I just want to give you a definition of support staff. Support is a thing that bears the weight or something that keeps things upright. I have worked for food service for 4 years. I have been in the middle of the COVID. I have my letters that I was an essential employee. I got letters from Ms. Zork, our commissioner at one time, and we have been tirelessly working, feeding children and families that were no way of getting out of their homes when we were on lockdown. I was with transportation. I was with other coworkers. We were loading up coolers, going out to places in Fellsmere I didn't even know existed. And families were coming out like, oh my gosh, the cavalry has arrived. We are the support staff. I have been working tirelessly since the whole beginning of pandemic. I have not taken any time off. I can't afford to. We got a generous 4% raise that was blown out of the water by the cost of insurance went up. Inflation is at 7.5. I'm currently a single mom raising 2 teenagers. I make less than $250 a week. I work 25 hours. I also have 2 other jobs to keep a roof over our head. When I go to the grocery store with 2 teenagers, $49 doesn't go very far, if anybody knows what the cost of living is. I wouldn't trade it for the world. My seniors, my juniors, my sophomores, my freshmen at my high school, I can't wait to see what I have to say. I have posters behind me encouraging them to do their best. I give them elbow bumps, shoulder bumps, fist pumps. I want them to know that I care. They take another apple, go get another apple. You're hungry? I know, because the transportation is bringing them to school. That's our support staff. The custodians are taking care of them by cleaning up the classrooms. Food service is feeding them. Teachers' assistants are filling in when teachers aren't there. IT department is making sure they have computers. If I lost anybody, I'm sorry. But that sea of red, those are my staff, and I stick by them. We have worked so hard to get any type of recognition. Yeah, the teachers are amazing. I love my teachers. I have a senior here. My daughter's a senior. She's AB honor roll. I get nothing problems from her. Her friends come to my house because I have the cool house. That's why I don't have any groceries. But I wouldn't trade it for the world because you know what? She also reads the banned books. If I were to tell her, don't read that, don't do that, Jess, don't. I also have a daughter who graduated, went to college. If I were to tell them, don't read, they would like, are you kidding? Let's go find it on the internet right now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, Shayla Edwards is next. Ryan Blade is on deck.
Good evening. My name is Shayla Edwards, and I am a Gifford native, community member, and a parent of a future student that will be attending school at the Freshman Learning Center. My concern is based on the fighting and disruptive incidents that have occurred on that campus this past academic year, particularly the brawl that took place on February 16th. It's a disgrace, super scary for parents, but also very triggering, as these incidents were also my middle and high school experiences. This troubling trend didn't start this year and will continue, which is the scariest part. We are better than this. You all have made it a mission to transform education to inspire and empower all students to maximize their full potential. Emphasis on all. The students that were involved in this incident will be transformed in traumatic ways, graduating from your school district with permanent metal bracelets and systemic societal disadvantage. It doesn't have to be this way. Your educators are culturally unresponsive, exhausted, and are walking away from jobs that they truly love. Yes, it is the parent's job and responsibility to parent their child, but what if those parents, or you, or your educators, don't know how? It is imperative that a trauma-informed approach be implemented in order to turn this school-to-prison pipeline off. Mental health is a very real thing, and I ask that it be placed on your hearts and your agenda to address in these learning environments. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan Blade is next. Christy Bell is on deck.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ryan Blade. I'm the owner and founder of Indian River News, one of the news outlets here in Indian River County. I would like to recommend that this school board table 12A and schedule a special meeting in the next week or two, so this way everybody can speak. Not everybody was made aware of the new address. I did not see anything in Sebastian Daily, nothing in TC Palm, nothing in Vero News, nothing in Hometown News. Those are the 4 local outlets here in this county. Rhett Palmer didn't know about it. He's a local radio host. And Bob Sues, I don't know if the superintendent goes on there, if he mentioned anything to Mr. Sues. I don't know, and I don't know how wide either of their listenership is. And Rhett's a bit more of a, I want to say, an international show. So with that all said, I would really like to ask you guys to do that, schedule a special meeting so everybody can speak. Schedule out for about a week or two. I know you guys got some scheduling with the attorney, which I understand that. See if there's a way you can work around that. I think that would be the best solution for this, because I got piles of people over there that want to speak, which include this county's REC vice chairman, the Mom Celebrity chairman and vice chairman, the host of TGI Now, which is a podcast that I actually went on recently. It's starting to get very known around here. President of the Sebastian Warriors, which is a support group. They do a lot of sign waving. So I got a lot of people like that in this room. The other thing I'll mention as well is if you don't let the parents speak to read the excerpts they were going to read tonight, if they had, gotten their forms in on time, I will personally live stream. I'll make a channel on Rumble. I will personally live stream the parents and citizens reading the materials if you guys are not allowed in here. Furthermore, if these books cannot be read aloud here in any of the meetings by the citizens and the parents, why are these books allowed in the libraries if the parents can't even read it in here? That's just something perhaps that I'd like to think about. A lot of that group over there, that's the sentiment they hold. I've even found this concerning myself. I'll also say that just follow the city of Sebastian. I don't know if things are different because I know there's some different regulations for school boards, but when I have spoken at a city of Sebastian meeting, they only ask you to state your name on the microphone and just state your address. They don't have you fill out a form or anything like that. I would really think that maybe you guys might want to look at something for, say, if people come in late. I understand wanting to be punctual and document things, which I applaud you guys for following policy. I really do. That might be something you might want to look at because they just, say, if you want to come speak to them, just stand up and go ahead and talk. And the most they ever had was when Damian Gilliams and company were on Sebastian City Council. They had people going out the door. None of them ever filled out a form. They just went in and they spoke. So that's something that I would definitely look at to keep in mind for this. Thank you. Oh, and the other thing before I go, actually, I just thought of this. Definitely next time if you make a change like that, notice not just me, but to all the news outlets. And I intended to cover as much of the school boards, including the superintendent's workshops. I really don't know if that gets a lot of viewership, let alone people go onto the website, actually check that unless somebody told them, hey, you should go take a look at this. So I would recommend notifying myself and the other news outlets I mentioned here today about this. Maybe you mentioned this on Mr. Sue's radio show, if there's any changes like this that occur in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Blade. Christy Bell is next. Dr. Karen Hiltz is after that.
Tonight I'm not nervous because I'm not talking about anything controversial. I watched the workshop this week, or last week, whenever it was, and there was a comment made during the workshop that I wanted to publicly address. I'm the treasurer of Team Success, which, as you know, it's a small nonprofit. Clear back at Thanksgiving, we did feed the 900 families, and we used many volunteers. We cooked a hot traditional Thanksgiving meal, and we were allowed to have boxes at schools in order to just get cans of cranberry sauce, cans of vegetables. I wanted to make it clear those donations were items donated by individuals, not by the school district. I wanted to state it publicly because I saw it on the workshop that it was discussed as the hundreds of items donated by the district. That's not what happened. We had the boxes at the schools, people put things, $1 here, $2 there. But that coming together allowed us to feed 900 people. It allowed us to cook and actually give a hot meal to homeless people, to homeless families, to indigent families, to families who had had tragedy and illness just recently. They were able to get that because we worked together as a community. It wasn't anything more than just boxes at schools. So thank you for letting me kind of clear that. I don't know if that does clear it up, but I wanted to make sure that you know it was just teachers making little donations. And then because I still have a whole minute left, on the books, I understand, I read all of what was done, read all of the red notes, all of that kind of stuff. It looks great to me. The new process seems wonderful. Thank you so much for spending that huge, huge amount of time. I understand some people don't like the books. So be it. That happens. There are books I don't like also. But I like the new process and did want to publicly say thank you for making that new process more clear and perhaps giving the opportunity. I think it said that maybe the new process is going to allow people to actually say what books their kids can't read. I know you can't answer back, but whatever the case, I love the new process. I think it's great. And I'd really like to have lots of books on the bookshelves. Okay, that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dr. Karen Hiltz is next. Susan Meal is on deck.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Karen Hiltz, and I'm a resident of Sebastian. So, where to begin? Let's begin by stating that schools are not the parent and therefore should not be pushing ideological content on any child. The school is responsible for ensuring children learn the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic, period. Social and emotional aspects of building a child's character is for the parents to direct, instruct, and mold. There have been a range of concerns expressed and issues discussed over the past couple of years, to say the least. I pray parents don't lose heart and succumb to the system. As the authority, parents need to be supported by all of us. Concerns we've talked about are curriculum and what that includes, what curriculum to adopt moving forward. We've identified critical race theory, social emotional learning, racism, and other isms. And now we find ourselves in the middle of a debate on what is pornography. I find this incredible because even though I don't personally view pornography, I assure you I do know it when I see it. But let's consider Florida statute, Title 46, Crimes, and Chapter 847, Obscenity, as it has much to say, and I believe it seems to be quite clear. However, I'll only focus on one definition tonight, in the essence of time. Number 10 is obscene, means the status of material which the average person applying contemporary community standards would find, taken as a whole, appeals to be prurient, which I had to look that one up, interest, which prurient means arousing or appealing to sexual desire, depicts or describes in a patently offensive way sexual conduct as specifically defined herein, and taken as a whole, lacks serious literacy, artistic, political, or scientific value. I would argue this definition, out of 20 definitions under that chapter, does not reflect intelligence that is academic focused, but provides an emotional, feel-good focus. As our elected officials, you are expected to make tough decisions, and this is your decision. Don't abdicate your responsibility. All of this is conditioning children to have an emotional versus academic IQ. Please think about what you're supporting and the impact your decision will have on the lives of children in our communities. And one last point. I believe instead of focusing on isms such as racism, genderism, socialism, and wokeism, we should be focusing on exceptionalism. Every child is exceptional.
Stop, please.
Reminder, we are a constitutional republic founded based on accomplishment by overcoming exceptional odds. Are we perfect? No. But we are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please. Okay, again, please stop with the clapping.
I think I'm
Ms.
next.
Neal, you are next. Susan Baldwin is on deck.
I just have to say, I'm a little surprised. I came here to talk about common sense and also the fact that there was a little outrage in me when I saw some of the materials and some of the books that are on that list. I think some of you here, and I know some of the people in this room agreed with that. But when I hear people talking about these books like they're award-winning documentaries that were written 40 years ago about something, it just is shocking to me because every thinking person that I know that sees the excerpts from these books is outraged and cannot believe they're in our libraries. So I say, children and young teens exhibiting violent and inappropriate behavior, while the education elite force adult themes and racially biased materials on them, one would say, what could go wrong? Why are adults in the room wondering why kids are acting out while we're having brawls? We push one inappropriate behavior, which seems to be anything goes in the sexual department, but we don't want the rest. We're concerned that kids are beating each other up and have no self-control. But we're not outraged that disgusting pornographic materials are parading around in our libraries as valuable literature, and that's what's going on. So I'm irritated, and I'm sorry about that, but it's like we flew in from another planet where graphic oral sex depicted in pictures is fine. I mean, And the people that allowed it to come into the schools and into the libraries are now the ones that will decide if it should stay or it should go. So, a book about 9/11, it's probably award winner by the standards of some people, but it is heavy in gratuitous sexuality in the middle of it. So you wonder, why is it there? Is this the only book we can find on 9/11? And you wonder, there seems to be an issue about it being a First Amendment issue. I have to tell you, my father flew B-17s over Germany. He did that to protect freedom and to protect our Constitution. And there is no doubt that if he were here today, he would tell you this is not what he was protecting as a First Amendment right. And if there's anybody in this room who has a confusion about what the First Amendment means and whether or not children and parents can go buy these books all they want, just don't spend my money on it, then that person is in the wrong position. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Meal. Thank you, please. Thank you. Susan Baldwin is next. Dan Corrigan is after that.
I'm here too about the books, and if I might, I would just like to read a very short excerpt of one of them. This on the list is one of 6 from one book. It's the cleanest, and it's the only one I really feel comfortable reading, okay? All right. I would have done anything for him. Maybe that was my sickness. We made love in nothing places and turned the lights off. It felt like crying. We could not look at each other. It always had to be from behind, like that first time, and I knew he wasn't thinking of me. This is not healthy sexuality, and this is not something our children should be exposed to. We've been to a number of meetings about this. This isn't about censorship. It's not about uninterested parents. Enough already. Follow the law. Please stop trying to dance around it and just do what you are charged to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baldwin. Dan Corrigan is next. Donald Baldwin is after that.
Hi, my name is Dan Corrigan. I'm here to address the potential for the school board to allow books on critical race theory and pornography into our school libraries. Critical race theory is identity-based Marxism. Marxism is responsible for the deaths of almost 100 million people over the last century. Ibram Kendi, an author of some of these books and an expert on critical race theory at Boston University, says that in order to truly be anti-racist, you also have to truly be anti-capitalist. Do we really want our kids thinking that Marxism is good or necessary? I'm a Christian, and I follow the teachings of Jesus Christ. 2 of the most important things Jesus taught us to do were to love and forgive others. Critical race theory is the opposite of love and forgiveness, instead teaching kids to hate each other and their country. Books on pornography also have no place in our schools. Many people are addicted to porn, and it is tearing families apart. These days, divorce is rampant. If anyone thinks that spreading pornographic books throughout our schools is going to make children grow up and have more stable, lasting marriages, they are kidding themselves in a major way. It will just cause more pain and suffering for many, many people. Please do not allow books about critical race theory or pornography into our schools. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Corrigan. Donald Baldwin is next. Stacy Klim is on deck.
Can you hear me? Donald Baldwin. I'm a taxpayer in the school district, and I'm very upset about us looking at the loss of $1.3 million for a violation of state law. The CDC is advisory. It is not a lawmaker. So when Fauci says wear a mask, it doesn't mean by law you have to wear a mask. He decided at the beginning, he said the mask will not do a thing for the virus, or maybe very little, but it was not a blocker. He went and talked to Democratic leaders in Congress, and then he turned around and said, wear the mask. The mask became a talisman to ward away the virus. So we had problems with kids wearing masks. A lot of them had mask mouths, teeth rotting, vision impaired, psychological damage, and I'd love to see what kind of anthropological studies come out in the future on the damage done to our kids. But with this, the school board went and violated the law to force these kids to wear a mask. It was a religion of voodooism that was forced on these kids. And furthermore, as a grandparent and a member of society, I oppose polluting the minds of our children by placing books with sexual smut and racial hatred on the school library shelves. If you vote to break the law, to put these books there, then I hope you get handcuffed and taken to the jail on 40th Street.
Thank you, sir. No, thank you. Stacy Klim is next speaker. Becky Cook is on deck.
Good evening. I wanted to just come up and thank Mr. Meyer and his staff and Dr. Moore, and a huge shout out to the librarians for working so hard on this book banning issue. I really, really like the policy of having the library book permission form in focus, because it's my parental right to choose what my kids have access to when it comes to literacy. And I was going to come up here tonight and talk about this great book, Our Class as a Family, and how much my son loves it because there's a little boy in a wheelchair in it, and he thinks he looks like this really cute little boy, which he does. And I was going to talk about representation in our libraries, but then I walked in and I saw all those really cute faces out in the yard about the Faces campaign that TLA is doing. And I remembered sitting in this room a week ago with a bunch of leaders in this community and talking about how important literacy was. And I started thinking about a little foster boy I had and how he came to us in second grade and he was on a kindergarten reading level. And so right away I went to the school and we got him hooked up with services. But I wanted him to have a lot of book exposure because I really wanted him to understand how important books were. So I took him to the library one Saturday morning, and he walked around and he looked at the books and he didn't touch any of them. And I finally said, "Don't you want to get any books?" And he looked at me and he said, "Stacy, I don't have any money." He thought the library was a bookstore. He had never been because he was never in a situation where someone would have taken him to the library. So we went to the library every Saturday. I got him a book bag, and he would shove as many books as he could in there. And he was always in the kids section. But one day, as I was roaming around and he was picking his books up, I looked over and he was heading over to the adult book area. And he went over to the biography section. And I couldn't really see what he was doing, but he grabbed this really thick book and he put it in his bag and he shoved it in there. I didn't know what book it was, so we went to check out. And he pulls this book out and he hands it to the librarian, and she looks at me. And I look at the book, and it was a biography of Queen Elizabeth. And she looked at me like, "Is this okay?" And I kind of laughed, and I, shrugged my shoulders, yeah. So we got home, and I didn't know why he had picked this book. But as the week went on and we would look in the book and we would look at a page and look for words that he knew and do word identification, I finally said, you know, why did you pick this big book? And his simple answer was, because there's a princess on the front. And I said, well, actually, she's a queen. That's just a story to remind us of why libraries are so important and why children should be able to pick the books that they want, just like we can, because this is important to their identity development. And whether it's a little boy in a wheelchair, like my son, or if it's some little boy wants to read a book about a queen, let him. But it's their choice, and it's our choice as parents to let them pick the books that they want. I want my parental rights enforced, and I want to pick the books that they read. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Klim. Becky Cook is next. Sedun Cernovsky is on deck.
Good evening, Dr. Moore and School Board. My name is Becky Cook, and I am a support staff employee. I come before you to ask you to consider giving support staff employees a bonus for all the work they have done at the schools during the pandemic. The trauma that many employees have experienced during the past 2 years has been beyond challenging. Support staff employees are first responders for our school district. We are the employees who transport, feed, care for the students, keep our schools clean and safe. COVID has resulted in an economic fallout which has hit especially hard for support staff employees. It has also hit employees' health, as many employees and their families were infected with COVID. Many suffered with severe symptoms, and many are still suffering from long-haul COVID symptoms. There are support staff employees who are still dealing with the trauma of losing a family member or a family friend. We have heard about the support staff bonus money that other school districts around the country and in Florida have received. I've had many union members ask me if our school district is going to do something for us. I told them I hope so, and I truly hope you will. During the 2019, 2020, and 2020 and 2021 school years, the months of August through February, which is where we are currently, the resignation rates were approximately 39, and about 13 retired during that time period. During this year's time period from August to February, there have been 91 resignations and 26 retired employees, and there is currently 40 support staff jobs posted. I don't know if this may be the response to the stress and financial difficulty that hourly wage workers are feeling here in their jobs. I stand here before you tonight asking that you consider giving well-deserved bonuses to support staff employees. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cernovsky? Sorry.
That's fine.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Sedun Cernovsky, and try to be in first grade and get that on the paper. It's a lot of fun. I am a resident of Indian River County. I'm also a pastor in this county, and I appreciate the tough job you guys have to do, and I can't thank you enough for the volunteering to that service. And we should all be encouraged that so many people have showed up for children, both sides, and I just can't appreciate that enough, because that really says there's something going on that we care about, and I'm thankful for that. And from my side of it, I am leaning for that weight of you guys have a difficult choice to make of whether to remove or retain some books that when you do read them, yeah, they absolutely repulse me in certain senses. But I don't know if that's a fair barometer of whether it should be retained for availability, seeing that you have put other safeguards in place. I am very cautious about removing things that I disagree with entirely from availability, because there has to be an open discussion of those things, age appropriately, of course. But to remove them altogether, I'm very cautious there, only because if explicit is the only reason to remove something, my Bible is next because that's the book I do love. And there are explicit things in there of which I do not protect my children from, but I do absolutely engage them with it. And if this is what's deemed by the board of things to look at, it looks like you guys took some time with this, and I appreciate that. So just want to say thank you to everyone who has come out. It's a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, board members, I'm going to take a 5-minute break. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to ask the superintendent to please address the concern that we had that was brought up to us about the 5:45 start, change from the 6 o'clock start that was noticed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and these would just be my comments following public hearing, as I traditionally do. We did post the advertisement on 218 and TC Palm, which is the practice that we've been following for approximately 10 years. Any individual who did submit a form and would like to speak, I would encourage you to email your comments either to myself or the board so we have access to that information. I think our board over the last several months has been very vigilant in creating not only their protocols but structures to hold itself to the highest level or highest standard in terms of how they function as the board, because in my mind they are the most important board in this community, the school board that is in service of children. So as we stand true to those expectations the board collectively has, I thank the board for following the process and really encourage anyone who wanted the opportunity to speak, to communicate that information to me and the board so we at least have your input. Also want to address and acknowledge our CWA workers, their leadership. Maureen and Mike did submit a letter to me Wednesday or Thursday of last week requesting consideration for a bonus in payment. I know we are scheduled to review that information and have that conversation. One of the things that we as a leadership team have strived to do is to be completely transparent, build strong relationships, and have open lines of communication with all of our employees. And I can tell those who are still here, you are, in fact, the backbone of the system. And everything that was spoken in terms of the work that was done, the effort that was provided, the relationship with children, I can say all of it is 100% on point and accurate. And what you do in our schools on a daily basis should be acknowledged and celebrated all of the time. And we do our best to rub our nickels together to maximize those dollars to be in service of those who stand in front of our children and those who stand behind in support roles. As CWA knows, we did initiate a 4% raise for this particular school year, a 2% raise for next year, and then in 23-24, a 1.25% raise, which is a compounded raise of 7.25% over the course of 3 years. And I would love it to be, tremendous amount of more, because that is absolutely deserved. So looking forward to engaging with CWA leadership as in respect to the information in which they just submitted. So those are my remarks based on public hearing. Madam Chair.
Okay. I understand the desire to speak, and we appreciate people coming out to speak. We feel that we have people that are very passionate about this topic, obviously. And we want to be able to, I'm a rule follower. We're going to stick to a rule that was agreed upon by this board. I understand people weren't aware of that, however, it was properly noticed. I am going to ask Superintendent, he has the forms of the people that didn't understand that at 5:45 is when we now accept forms. And so from 5:45 to 6, he has those forms. Please put what you wanted to say in writing so that we can put it into the record. We appreciate that. Thank you. All right. At this time, board members, I need approval for consent agenda items.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Ms. Rosario? I'm sorry, who's second? Dr. Schiff? Any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, since we are not going to allow our citizens to speak or make adjustments to our policy, which I understand it is our policy, so we could agree if we chose to do so, to allow for citizens to speak. I think we are doing a disservice to our community by not allowing
Mrs. Rosario, this is on
citizens-
consent agenda.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
I'm leading there. Thank
Okay.
you very much. And I think it is our job as elected officials to hear the voices of our constituents on an item such as this one, which is an action item before us. With that said, I'd like to make a motion that we table this item for our next business meeting.
That's an action item, so we'll have to do that when we go to action. This is consent that we're on right now.
Oh, my goodness.
That's why
Sorry.
That's why I interrupted you.
Sorry.
Okay.
Apologize.
All right. With that, could we have a call for the vote for the consent?
Aye.
There's
Mr. Barefoot, welcome. Would you like to weigh in on the consent agenda?
I have nothing to add.
I can't hear him. Do you agree?
He has nothing
Thumb
to
up?
add.
Okay, thumb up, vote. We need you to vote, Mr. Barefoot.
So explain, it's hard to hear you. What's the motion again exactly?
Motion is for the, approve the consent agenda items.
For what agenda item? What?
The consent agenda items.
So what is the vote?
We are voting for the consent agenda items. Okay, can somebody put it in the chat? Okay. Technical issues.
Oh my God, really? Is he really eating?
I can't hear or see anybody.
Call us back.
Put him on.
Do you need a minute?
All right. As I understand it, the vote is to approve the consent agenda. Is that correct?
That is correct. Thank you for
I
whoever
vote-
chatted that.
Yes, I vote to approve it.
Okay, so with that, the vote is 5-0. Thank you. All right, we do not have any items that were pulled to consent. The very first item on our action agenda is the only item on our action agenda. We do have several speakers, 4 speakers for this action item. The item states that on November 16, 2021, the school board members of School District of Indian River County approved an action item directing the superintendent to conduct a full assessment of the district's school libraries and media centers. The attached document summarizes the actions taken, findings, and recommendations that were yielded as part of the assessment conducted. Before I call for the motion and before we have speakers, I'd like to ask the superintendent to present the item. Yeah, speakers, okay. Speakers actually are going to be going first. So the first speaker is Maureen Schlosser, followed by Michael Marsh.
Hello again. My name is Maureen Schlosser, and I'm a former school librarian. I'm also an active member of the American Association
Ms.
of...
Schlosser, I'm going to stop you right now because I looked, the last time you approached, you talked about books. This is the item, and you can only speak to the item once.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, Mr. Marsh is next. After that is Greg Semscott. I'm sorry. Semstrott.
Thank you very much. Mike for Liberty here. Guys, the books are going back on the shelves. Hate to break it to you, but the work was done, the work was good, the work will continue to be good. Now let's talk about facts and not fan fiction. How did we get here today? Well, this is what happened. An individual, along with another board member, started challenging books. There was no parents, no educators, no staff, no other administrators. One person challenged the books. Now, as I look out over here, I see doctors, but I see one board attorney. I get my laws from attorneys, but that's what we did here. We followed the Florida state statute. And some great things came about this. But let's get more specific here. After the challenge happened, we came up with this great Appendix H, muy bueno. And what I would like to see on that Appendix H is, going forward, maybe an electronic version of it, because we don't want to just keep erasing. Poor Mr. Myers and them, they can't see this stuff. Maybe an electronic version, I would just like to see that, get at it. But let's talk about some of these books. Some books, Too Gay, Too Black, Too Brown. Black History Month is still today. The Black Flamingo, Black Lives Matter, Black Software, #Black Lives Matter, The Black Friend, The Black Kids, Mexican White Boy. I was a little confused on that one. Rainbow Boys. Black Girl Unlimited. Black Enough. This book is anti-racist. I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican. Sisters Equal Hermanas. I believe that's sisters in Spanish. Boy to Girl. What is Black Lives Matter? Anti-Racist Baby. Where's Tree? Remember the non-binary tree? So those were some of the books. And I want to thank Mr. Meyer's division. I want to thank everyone that took the time. But what saddens me is, did we close libraries to meet with an individual? Because the graver concern here is not the porn in the books. Have these books been checked out? Now that's the research I'm gonna do, because we chased a boogeyman that didn't exist, right? That's what we did. So we're gonna do, through public records, we're gonna ask Mr. Meyer's division, when have these books ever been checked out? Because isn't that a bigger problem? Are these kids reading? Are they reading? Because most of these books haven't been checked out. But let's talk about the good that came out of it. We incorporated a library book permission form. The committee was a consensus. We're taking away 5 titles, people. We wasted all this manpower for 5 titles. And guess what? It did not violate the Florida state statute after they asked the board attorney, and it also did not contain the legal definition of pornography. I don't get my law from the janitor, I get it from the school board attorney. So again, we went through this rabbit hole of all these books. Many of them weren't even read by the petitioner and the other individual, which I don't know if it was a board member or a private person. We don't know. We're still researching. You're going to get that through piecemeal, guys. But thank you to the division, curriculum, and institution. I think that's what it's called. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Ring rainbow.
Okay. Greg Semstrat.
Look here. Semstrat. That's how you say it. Semstrat.
Okay.
I'm a citizen of Indian River County. I pastor a local church, Vero Bible Fellowship, and I want to begin by saying what a privilege we have as a local church to support the students of our county through Ann Bieber, the principal at the middle school here just next door, Storm Grove. We have a relationship there for the last 2 years. We have given to the school over $15,000 to be used as the administration of that school chooses to benefit the students of that school. We care about the students of this county, and we're thankful for the privilege of serving in that way. I also, as a pastor, am called to be faithful to the gospel of Jesus Christ. I don't represent this evening any subgroup, any political party, anyone except what the Scripture teaches me. And what I see in Scripture clearly is in the Decalogue, in the 10 Commandments. One of the 10 Commandments is honor your father and your mother. We are not to take that lightly. And being a school board, I can't imagine the weight, the responsibility of the decisions that you make on a regular basis. But I am imploring you to respect and honor the parents, just as the children should. That's how God created us. I will tell you that when I think of critical race theory, and I've done my homework and research, it is not born out of good science or good history. It's actually born out of a resentment. Nothing good can come out of something that is processed through resentment. And if you look at God and how He set up human society, He actually put restraints for us, to protect children. One of the restraints is the conscience. And if we ignore the conscience long enough, it can become seared. Some don't even recognize their conscience any longer. Another restraint would be family. And that's where parents come in. And for children to respect their mom and dad, and for mom and dad to have the responsibility, they are the ones to choose what their children are receiving, what their children are learning. Now, I'm not talking about the basics of, math and science and history. I'm talking about these matters of emotional change that kids will face. We're talking about children who think concretely. It's difficult for them to understand the abstract. And when you look at the kinds of books that are now being presented at the library, when we look at the parents and the pornography issues,
Thank you, sir.
we're putting a lot on our kids. Parents need that responsibility. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. Mara McDaniel is our last speaker.
Hi, my name is Mara McDaniel, and I'm a student here in Indian River County. I disagree with the removing of the books in our school library. In 1982, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled on the Board of Education versus PICO that the First Amendment includes the right to read library books of the student's choosing. While the school officials have great power over the contents of the speech in schools, that power is not absolute. Parents and other members of the community may not remove the books from the library shelves simply because they dislike the contents in those books. The Supreme Court said about this case, the government must be neutral in matters of religion, theory, doctrine, and practice. These concerned citizens must think that kids have such a weak mind that we are controlled by every single book that we read. Once I read The Science of Being Rich, I'm not a billionaire yet. And it matters to have access to different perspectives, different opinions, diverse and critical views. This is what education should be about. And if you are not teaching us to think critically for ourselves, then you are not teaching us at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being strong enough to come speak. Please, no, thank you. Thank you. We appreciate students especially coming forward and speaking. I know that's tough. All right. So at this point, I'm going to ask the superintendent to please present the item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be as brief as I possibly can.
Bless you.
In November, this item came to the board in looking at a number of specific areas surrounding library and media centers, the process in which we check out books, and protections and systems and safeguards surrounding our libraries. In addition to that, we were in the midst of a process of reviewing a number of books, 150 books that had came ultimately for review based on the content within those specific books. So this is a hard and difficult conversation. It is a complex conversation. Let me say, first and foremost, the School District of Indian River County did not push away a decision. The School District of Indian River County didn't do as so many other districts did and said, we're good, we're following the law, and we won't listen. This district took on the bold and courageous opportunity to review the content of those specific books. And we did it in a way because we really honestly believe that we are stronger together. And as we engage in this conversation over the last several months, and again tonight, we will serve as role models. Those who watch us have this discourse or this conversation will look at our actions, look at how we speak to one another, and make decisions on how they should act or what is or is not appropriate behavior. So as we go through this information, I won't go over the totality of the item. I think the item as presented speaks for itself. There are two governing policies, 2520, the selection and adoption of instructional materials, as well as policy 9130, public complaints, guiding the process in which we went through. I can tell you right off the bat, both of those processes, as a team, we need to review. We need to be a little bit more specific and detailed as it relates to what those policies are, how they intertwine with one another, and that is work this district will engage in. So as I go through this, we work with Neola, which is an organization that provides policies to most of the school systems here in the state of Florida. They are providing changes or recommending changes to this school board in the coming months. There's also a number of things going on in Tallahassee that may also impact these two policies. So as we collect that information from those two different entities, we will review policy 9130 and 2520 and bring recommendations to this board to consider a more clear and aligned and specific policy that governs my work in terms of the daily operations as your superintendent. I do want to highlight some of the changes. One is that every single parent in this district starting tomorrow will have the opportunity to have their voice as a parent. That choice will include whether their child has the opportunity to check out books or does not check out books. That opportunity will include, I will define or identify which books I do not want my children to read in a library. It will provide an opportunity for parents to say, I have no issues with my children reading books in our libraries. We will also ensure when a book is in one specific level, it doesn't move outside of that level. So if I'm a middle school student, I request through our system to read a high school book, nope, you gotta have parental permission. Now let me be clear. In my house, David Moore and Jennifer Moore, as parents, would access this opportunity. There are books that are on this list that we as parents would make a decision and say, not ready for one of my two daughters. That's my parental right. And I would encourage every single parent, as we share out this information, to access that right. That's what I would do as a father and as a husband. As the superintendent of schools, I don't want to take that opinion or that opportunity away from any parent. So the recommendation that I'm making tonight is to ensure that we do honor parental rights. And they do allow every single family to come together and have the conversation about when are our children going to be exposed to which information, and allow us as the school system the opportunity to partner. So as hard as the conversation is, it's complex for me, and it's complex for my family. What I would do as a father is a little bit different than what I'm doing as a superintendent. Grounded in ensuring every single family has the opportunity to govern the decisions in terms of what and when their children are being exposed to certain things. This district went through a comprehensive, exhaustive process. The findings of that process is we are looking at the age appropriateness of those books, and this committee did find 5 books that they do not think are K-12 appropriate. That was the findings. There were 4 books that they found that says this book needs parental consent in order to be checked out. There were 25 books that used to be available in middle schools that are no longer available in middle schools and only available in high schools. Some will say that's not enough, but it's more than any other district did. Let me look at
Please
challenge
stop.
material process. Some will say as you look at the process, which was extensive, we didn't follow the appropriate process. This process, when you look at it, was extensive. As the superintendent of schools, I manage the daily operations of the school system and have procedural rights. There are certain procedures, once again, provided by Neola, that are outdated. When you look at this specific policy, there is a procedure from 2011, not aligned to the policy that was reissued in 2018. The policy was followed to the T. We looked at it, we were extensive. The members of this committee, yes, they were all of the media specialists in this district, district staff, and Mr. Meyer facilitated those conversations. They are parents, they are members of this community, they attend our churches in our community. The process ensured not only did we push out the books and ask them to review and read, we went through a reader or a validating reader reliability. So not only did we look at one, we gave them opportunities to look at multiple, and we came together, they scored that information confidentially, And then they went through a collaboration or a consolidation process where they looked at the outcomes of each specific book and normed on what that specific outcome was. It is consistent. It is legal. It is solid as possibly could be. It has been reviewed for legal sufficiency, and that is the item that we're bringing to you today. So with that, Madam Chair, I'd be happy to answer any questions that board members may have.
Okay. So, board members, first I'd like to call for a motion.
Move approval.
Okay. Dr. Schiff? Second?
Second.
Okay. Dr. Jones? And we are now in discussion. Who would like to go first?
I would.
Okay. Mrs. Rosario, the
Yeah,
floor is yours.
I have
And we're at 3 minutes, just remember.
I have a question for the attorney.
Okay, stop. Thank you.
At what point, it's my understanding that once you have the floor or the table, once you have the item before you, anyone can make a motion to table an item, correct? Or does it have to happen at the beginning?
Thank you to the chair. Yes, when you are in discussion as you are now, you could make a motion to table. It would need a second and a vote like any other motion.
Okay, thank you. I would like to make a motion to table this item for the next board meeting, please.
Okay. Any second? Okay, hearing none, the motion fails.
Okay.
Okay, you still have time?
No, that's okay. I just wanted to do that now. I'll come back around at the end.
Okay. Dr. Schiff?
Sure. I don't have a lot to say on this. I think everything that can possibly be said has been said. I want to acknowledge and deeply appreciate the work of the media specialists, the district staff, and others who spent countless exhaustive hours on this task, reviewing books and helping to set and determine appropriate policy moving forward. The superintendent has alluded to all of those in his recommendation. I also appreciate the work of our legal counsel for her diligent review to ensure we act consistent with legal definitions and state standards, so thank you for that. The reason I support the recommendations of the superintendent presented tonight to honor parental rights and ensure that students have access to a variety of reading materials in schools. I think this policy, as recommended, allows all parents to have an individual say in what they deem appropriate for their own children and families in the school setting by creating opt-out and review procedures for student instructional and other materials. As the superintendent noted, what I may choose for my child may be different than what I vote for as a school board member. Those are different responsibilities, but I have the responsibility as a parent to preserve that right to choose for my child, and nobody gets to take that away from me. All parents have the individual right to determine what they feel is appropriate for their own children and for their own family, and for that reason, I support the superintendent's recommendation. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Jones?
Thank you to all of our speakers today. You spoke with passion, you spoke with concern, and I appreciate you coming out. Thank you to Mr. Meyer and the committee, a lot of hard work. I know you met several times, we had all the dates and so forth. And I know this takes an enormous amount of time away from your duties, especially as we are preparing for state testing. I looked at the number of books in our middle and high schools. They range from 8,000 in one middle school to about 23,000 in our high schools. When I looked at the list, looked at it carefully, we had 5 not appropriate for K-12 and 4 with high school parent consent. Then obviously I looked very closely at the information that Ms. Shattuck sent to us and reviewed the laws and policies relevant to instruction and library materials. The one thing that I don't want to see, and we may have to talk about this a little bit more, but I think Dr. Moore answered it, is we may get 10 more books to look at this week, 15 the week after, and so forth. I want to make sure those books stay on the shelves, and that if we start that parent request form tomorrow, so that parents can realize maybe they want their child to read it, maybe they don't, but as long as the parents have that information, I'm fine with that. you know, as a former middle school principal, high school principal, parent and grandparent, I certainly understand what our media centers do for our students. It is a safe haven for many students. It is a safe haven sometimes for staff members just to go in and, you know, have a little time for themselves. But I am very clear on the fact that I don't want to tell someone else what they cannot read. That's up to the parent. If we have that form, I think it will work very well. And if we do go to that committee, Dr. Moore, and the recommendations, where we look at the books coming in and so forth, we had some concerns about that. I want to make sure that committee is very diverse. You know, when you take a look at the books on our list, we had several dealing with race, sexual orientation, some with religion, some with culture. I want to make sure we have a representation, parents, students, teachers, media specialists, and so forth, because we are a diverse community, and we want to make sure that we represent everyone. So I support the superintendent's recommendation. Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I?
Thank you, Dr. I'm sorry, Superintendent would like to say
Oh,
something.
you asked some questions. So when it comes to reviewing or placing books on the shelf, we anticipate additional books coming in. We will be very vigilant in making sure families understand when a book is being challenged, that it is being challenged. So if school communities or parents want to say, I'm going to, in the midst of this review, not allow my child to review that book, then we do that. So by putting the parental right in place, and when a book is being challenged, notifying and allowing parents to take that access if they so choose, I believe is the right thing to do. You also mentioned looking at the library spaces as a whole. I neglected to mention one of the things that we'll be convening starting tomorrow will be the media specialist, district leadership, and students to look at our 2 high school spaces to re-envision what that particular space looks like. And amidst all of the noise, we cannot lose focus or sight on the fact that is a space that needs to prepare students to be successful in today's world, and what you see in those 2 spaces is not going to do that. So we need collaboration spaces. We need times for students to come together and do research that will prepare them to meet the occupational or college rigor that is expected of them. So we'll be bringing that information back to the board, which is how we're going to use some of our CARES dollars or ESSER funds to renovate those spaces to increase the opportunities for students truly to go in and participate in those particular spaces. Thank you.
Okay, so I believe it's my turn to actually get my 3 minutes. Is he there? He's not there.
I'm here.
Oh, you are here, okay. Do you mind if we see you?
I don't control that.
I'm sorry?
I,
Did somebody block him? Picture?
you can,
Oh, there you go.
you control that from there, not here.
Okay, we can see you. Go ahead, Mr. Barefoot.
Oh, you can't see me? Fine. Well, I think that both Dr. Jones and Dr. Schiff said it very well. A lot of time and effort has been put into review all the books. I think that the report that the superintendent just gave gives parents the type of control that they deserve, and at the same time, sure that to the extent possible that the books are in libraries that are age appropriate. So the superintendent, the staff, and other members of the community that put in the time and effort to get us to where they are. I support very much Dr. Moore's recommendation.
Okay, thank you. All right, you ready to start time? Okay, thank you. All right, my turn. So I take this very seriously. Having been a teacher for many, many years, I stepped into the library as a librarian for a year. I was not a librarian. I stepped into that position for a year. I understand Follett. I understand what that system is like. I also understand bulk buying, and that makes me nervous. So I went through this list very, very, very carefully, and I not had the opportunity to read all the books. I did read as many as I could as far as the younger books go, because I know I can get through those quickly. But I did look up every single title, not in the Follett system, bless you, but I looked it up in the system in our county library because I wanted to see another comparison. And the county library does a category for each book. They put them in a category. And I asked today, I had a meeting with Mr. Meyer again, and asked what of the books, bless you, that I looked up in the system over there that were not put on the list to remove, or were not put on the list to have parent permission, but yet said adult on them as a category. I asked why were those books still being approved to put on a high school shelf versus being removed. Now, unless I read that book from cover to cover, I would not understand whether or not that was violating anything. But when I asked, the answer is that the age of the main character gives it that category. So if the main character is an adult, it's going to be an adult book. So I understand now why that had that character or that category in it. I did discuss several books with them and got the feedback from the team. There would be books, again, I agree with you, there would be books as a parent that I probably would hesitate my own child getting out of the library. When my kids were going through this school district, I did not have that opportunity. We did not have this transparency back then. We didn't know what was in the library because Follett didn't have that option for parents back then. So, given that, I want to thank somebody that you have not thanked yet, and that is Mrs. Pippin. I'd like to say thank you for bringing this to our attention, because even though people may criticize someone for wanting to ban books, which I don't believe that's what she's asking us to do, I think that it's important that this has been brought to our attention. We need to know what it is that parents are upset with, because I'm a true believer in parent choice and parent permission and parents being involved with their children. And so for that matter, I'd just like to say thank you for bringing this forward.
I have some follow-up, and hopefully we'll come around to some follow-up here. But I'm going to start with the library permission forms. The incorporation of the library permission form into the existing Focus Parent Portal is a good idea in theory. And initially when I heard it, I was all on board. But after giving it careful consideration, it does not adequately address or remove the books that have nudity, sexual content, sexual conduct, sexual battery, bestiality, sadomasochistic abuse, and is harmful to minors, or any matter that is defined as in the statute 847.001. That would be explicit and detailed verbal descriptions and narrative accounts of the same as outlined in Florida Statute 847.012. All this is doing, the library permission forms, all this is doing is giving parents the ability to give permission to their children to have access to unlawful material. We are asking parents to participate in providing that which our statutes say may not be available, and that is a quote. If this library book permission form does not include the option of such material, then I would gladly support it. But as it stands right now, what is being recommended is another violation of Florida Statute Chapter 847. The current committee members were advised of one standard written in Policy 9130, and that is, quote, the ideas which may have been unpopular or offensive to some, and that instructional materials in library books should be, quote, taken as a whole. These can be found in Statute 847.012. However, from these two lenses, they were given directions to recommend or to not recommend some of these library books. The idea, the language, ideas which may have been unpopular or offensive to some, is not written in statute. The taken as a whole is. But I would like to point out something that has not been made public, and that is that the phrase taken as a whole only applies to the definition of what is harmful to minors and what is obscene. It does not apply to the definition of nudity, sexual matters, sexual conduct, sexual excitement, masochism, sadism, abuse, sexually oriented materials, human simulation, or specific sexual activities identified in part by the arousal of human genitals, acts of of sexual intercourse, sodomy, fellatio, fondling, or erotic touching.
Thank you, Ms. Rosario. Okay, so we're on our second round now, because we all agreed to these.
So may I
Madam Chair, I'd
continue?
like to call
Okay.
the question. I think we've had enormous conversation about this over months and months, and workshops and workshops, and
action.
meetings
We
and
have-
meetings.
Okay, hold on. I would like to speak as well, but we're following Robert's rules. She called the question. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. So Ms. Schiff has called the question. Dr. Schiff, sorry. And Dr. Jones has seconded. Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No.
What did Mr. Barefoot vote?
Mr. Barefoot?
Aye.
Aye? Okay. I was hoping I'd have to be able to make another comment, but I guess I can't. Okay, so we've called the question, so the question is now called. Now we vote on the item. I'm correct? Okay. All right. So we're going to vote on the item. At this point, we have an item before us, and let me reread it. Approval of library books and media center. On November 16, 2021, the school board members of the School District of Indian River County approved an action item directing the superintendent to conduct a full assessment of the district's school libraries and media centers. The attached document summarizes the actions taken, findings, and recommendations that were yielded as part of the assessment conducted. I will call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, the motion passes 4-1. I wish I could make the other statements that I wanted to make, but I have to honor Robert's rules. I just wanted to make a comment that I'd like to thank Mr. Meyer and the committee also for all the hard work that they put in, for being voluntold or to volunteer to do this hard work. I'd like to also appreciate everybody's input on this. At this point, we are up to our superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's no report this evening. I do want to mention, at the request of our chair, I will be bringing a presentation to our next workshop where we're talking through our progressive discipline, our code of conduct, things that we're doing in order to ensure that in our schools, every single student walks in, feels safe, feels comfortable, and knows that they're in a place in which they will be safe and learning can take place. So we're looking forward to addressing that request that you brought, Madam Chair, as well as information that Dr. Schiff shared around the mental health of our students. So we'll bring that presentation, looking forward to engaging in conversation, because I know it's a priority to all of our board members. Thank you.
You're talking about the item I asked about student discipline and
Student discipline,
safety.
the safety.
Hold on a second. We'll wait because we have people that are disrupting our meeting right now. Go ahead, Dr. Moore.
Student discipline, specifically the fights at Vero Beach, seeing the flick, what we're doing in response. There's a number of things we as a staff have been doing in order to look at our code of conduct, in order to ensure we're taking absolutely every step humanly possible to ensure students understand the consequences of their actions and the impact those actions may have on other students who are in the building, while at the same time being very intentional of organizing ourselves in a way to make sure students can be successful. They understand what behaviors lead to success and the long-term lifetime impact other decisions may have. So that's the conversation we want to pull together and have with our board at our next workshop.
Okay, thank you, sir. We do not have any discussion items. We had a speaker for the discussion item, but we do not have a discussion item, so we do not have another speaker. School board member matters. Mr. Barefoot, would you like to go first?
You want the board committee updates, Ms. Berenborg?
Oh, sorry, thank you. Yes, board committee updates. My apologies. Hold on, I need to find that. Got them. Okay. So, board updates. Hold on one second. I am looking for, I do know that there is a legislative update. I'm looking to see where we have that.
We had some of that today.
Okay, I'll just do it under board member matters update. Okay, so we are up to, who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead.
I only just reporting on Metropolitan Planning Organization. I think since the last time I spoke to this is 2 meetings. They've also held 2 visioning workshops for the public. The first workshop had over 100 people present. The second workshop, the numbers were somewhere in the 60s. A variety of topics were discussed, everything from the conditions of certain roads, the bridges, the safety issue for the bikers, on and on and on. The next meeting, which is in April, there will probably be a vote taken, but people should be very impressed with the process that the group has undertaken to get input from residents from all parts of the county. And I'm pretty confident that the long-term planning will come out in partnership with the Florida Transportation Authority will be well received. That's really all that I can. Thank you.
Okay, you also sit on City of Vero Beach Planning and Zoning Commission. Have they met?
They're going to meet this week. The last 2 meetings are canceled. But frankly, there's virtually nothing that goes on there that would impact the school district. A lot of it has to do with specific building codes as it relates to the City of Vero Beach.
Okay. City of Indian River Shores Planning and Zoning, you were also on that.
Same thing. It all revolves around variances around all the building that's going on in the shores. Nothing that would be directly relevant for the school.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Jones, did you say you wanted to go next? Go ahead.
Bellsmere Planning and Zoning, last 2 meetings were about building of smaller homes. They talked quite a bit about sunshine law, the recreational trail, and the grant for the preserves, walking trail, and their new playground. Talking about 512 traffic and how parallel roads will help. Their impact fee credit, long-range transportation map, and their riding club. The Economic Development Council has not met since before the holidays. They will meet in March. The last topic I remember was talking about the containers, building those containers here that would be for smaller homes, not smaller homes here, but in the country. So we're going to get an update on that. Value Adjustment Board, I'm the backup on that, but I did go about 3 times last year, and the next meeting is April 6th, and I will be attending that. The Executive Roundtable I attended on Friday, and they would like you and Dr. Moore there next time to talk about, okay, don't go there, Kids for Hope.
Kids at Hope.
Okay. And I said you have more information on that, and they were talking a little bit about their funding, but they're also talking about a survey they would like to do. Carrie Lester from the drug abuse program, Ms. Berenborg, and the survey is called Community That Cares, kind of bringing everybody together. We used to do those surveys in the district with Ms. Tardy, and this is one they're hoping that we can do within the district. So they'll be talking about that next time.
Okay, great, thank you. Welcome. Dr. Schiff?
Yeah, the City of Sebastian Planning and Zoning meets some of the time, doesn't have a lot of items come before it, and rarely has anything that affects school board and school planning. So there hasn't been anything on that that's affected us directly.
Okay. And I think, is that the only one you sit on?
Mhm.
Okay. Ms. Rosario?
The only one that I went to last month was the Executive Roundtable. This month, I believe Dr. Jones was to sit on the executive roundtable.
That was their Friday, yeah.
And they talked about substance awareness at our last meeting, so I don't know if that was a subsequent conversation at this one that she just attended. But the Value Adjustment Board meeting is April 6th. I already RSVP'd
You're
to
gonna go?
that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ms. Esplin said, okay, I'll
That's all right.
cancel it. Thank
No,
you.
I already RSVP'd to that, so that's fine.
That's kind of why I wanted to have this like this, so that we could discuss it, because we can't. So I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Okay.
And that would be it.
And that's it, okay. So the ones I'm going to report on, Indian River County Planning and Zoning Commission has been busy. Last Thursday, I got to attend briefly the wonderful, what are we calling that, a roundup or something of entrepreneurial.
Symposium.
Yeah, symposium. I got to go to the very introduction of that because I had to run to zoning and planning because last Thursday they had the visioning workshop, the second round. Those of you that don't know, you might want to attend. MPO has now got this, so it's passed off to them. And MPO will be discussing this in the next meeting, so Mr. Barefoot, get ready. They're talking about opening up the western part of the county for growth. And what is that going to look like? I did bring up the question of how would schools be formed or land be saved for schools out there, and also a bus depot. You got to think about that as well.
Yeah.
So if you think of anything else that we need to consider for if this possible expansion happens, and of course I mentioned workforce housing because I mention that everywhere I go. So that was a concern of mine as well that was brought up, and many people on the board also brought that up. So it wasn't just me. Treasure Coast Council of Local Governments met this last February. I was up in Tallahassee when they met. I am the chair of that committee, and I'd like to just personally publicly thank Vicki Soleil, the CEO of Treasure Coast Community Health, who was the speaker for that event, and very well received. So this next meeting will take place this Wednesday, and we'll have a speaker talking to us about water. So that is what's coming up this week. There is a Moonshot Community Action is on here, so would anybody like to speak? Dr. Jones, why don't you speak to that one?
Sure. We had a meeting here with about 60 business partners, and it was to reinvigorate the FACES campaign that was started 11 years ago. Actually, we have a follow-up Zoom meeting tomorrow on getting that out because several of the people there said they would like to have one of those meetings where we put the poster with the children's faces all over the county, and so hopefully we'll be getting that out and push that again as far as the early learning literacy. But it was really a good meeting, and like I said, this room was packed, and a lot of elected officials and business partners united away from everybody, so it was wonderful.
Thank you. Also, we had the Central Florida Public School Board Coalition. Did anybody attend that? Okay, just asking. All right, thanks. We covered all those except for the last one, which is the legislative liaison. That's me. You asked for an update, and Tallahassee has been busy. I'm going to point it out right away, because 2 of the bills will be focusing on what we discussed tonight, which is instructional materials, and the difference between instructional materials and library books. There is that question of, is there a difference or not? I did call Jacob Oliva this morning and spoke to him at 7:22 this morning. I appreciate him taking my call that early. He is the Chancellor for K-12 education. I asked him specifically whether or not the current statutes as they are now and the current policies in place now, whether or not instructional materials includes library books. If they do, and I interpreted it and he interpreted it and he said I was correct on this, but I also checked with our attorney. I interpreted it as a book that's removed from the library by a teacher to use for instruction is now an instructional material. Okay? So if that changes, that is being debated up in Tallahassee right now. And so if that changes, then we will see further information coming down from Tallahassee about that. But I did check with him because I wanted to be sure. There are a lot of people throwing this around, telling us that they are attorneys and that they know more than our attorney does. I'm going to tell you that that's what the Chancellor of Education told me this morning. So I did ask him specifically that question. All of the different items that I put on here, I gave you an update as of this morning. However, there were several subcommittees that met today, and I believe the House is meeting tomorrow on the floor, so a lot will happen this week as well. There are several bills moving. I put the moving bills on here. There was one of concern that people had that's not moving, and I put that on here to let you know it wasn't moving. So anything on here, if you got a chance to look at it, that you had a question about or concern about?
Is this these two documents that you left for us? Or is this separate?
Okay, this one was the one on,
It's one that says School Board Legislative Update as of 2/27/22.
yes, that's the one I'm referring to.
Is that the one where you've noted I just saw these today.
Yes. What's moving, what's not moving. I put some stars on there. For example, Education by House PK-12 Appropriations Subcommittee. There were a couple of speakers that spoke to this one tonight. That is the bill, it's not a bill. That is a addition to the budget for the Pre-K-12 Appropriations Subcommittee. It's a recommendation from that subcommittee to go to the House, has to be agreed upon. It will not be decided until sine die. Sine die is the term for the last day of legislation. So this is the virtual school changes, the funding for virtual DJJ programs, digital classrooms, and the punishing of the 12 school districts for past votes. So that will be probably sorted out on the very last day of session.
Is it, I don't see on this sheet, is it on these? Where is it that you note what's moving and what's not?
These are all these.
All of these, because they're on this page, means
Yes,
they're
and I
moving.
wrote exactly what's happening, where they are as of today on here.
And anything that's not on here, then, is not moving.
Not necessarily. These are the major ones that we've been referring to and talking about for the last 3 weeks. I could go through all the 175 of them, but I really didn't have the time,
Sure.
especially with reading books and going through everything that we went through this last 2 weeks. So I did my best to, as of yesterday, this is what is happening in Tallahassee as far as education goes. The other thing I told you is if you see a CS on here, that's a committee substitute, and that happens during committee meetings or hearings when they decide as a committee to make an amendment and vote on it and agree to it. The other thing is sometimes it's just for technical reason, a misspelling or something like that. So just so you know, that's why when people look at it and they go, I don't see a difference between this bill and the CS bill, it's because of possibly a technical error. Yes?
Ms. Beerboy, when I sat in on the legislative platform with FSBA on Friday, they really talked a lot about assessment and a lot of discussion on the baseline year, and they said that was going to still move forward. You know, what assessment will we be using? There's still a concern with the number of times we're doing it, so that was a hot topic. And also talked to someone about the parental rights bill today. I attended the Equality Florida Conference on Zoom, and they said they were looking at an amendment in the Senate. I don't know where that went today or if it did anything, but that one they're looking at very closely.
All right, so you mentioned those two, I'll bring those up. HB 1193 and CSSB 1048, which is 12 through, K through 12 assessments. Right now, as of Sunday, it was added to the second reading calendar in the House. Okay, so that means it's probably moving through the House. And then in the Senate, it's a committee substitute by appropriations, and it's being read the first time. Okay, so it is moving. Obviously, that's a big agenda item for both chambers. So that is moving, but yeah, we'll see what the final result is of that one. Also, you mentioned CSCS HB 1557 and SB 1834,
Yes.
Parental Rights in Education. That is the name of the bill. It specifies parental rights for being notified when a change in student services or monitoring of mental, emotional, or physical health or well-being for a child while in school. Vote passed in the House and in Senate Appropriations Committee now, which means it hasn't gotten to the Senate floor yet on that side. So both houses have to agree in the final for a bill to become put on the governor's desk. Then it becomes law once he signs it. Any other questions? there is a lot going on as far as education goes up in Tallahassee. And it's fun to keep track of. I will say that. Okay, so those are our committee reports, and now we're to school board member matters. Who would like to go first?
I'll go.
Okay, Ms. Rosario?
I attended the Treasure Coast Builders Association, and they are having a Build Your Future Career Expo on March 9th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. At the United Against Poverty building on 27th Street. They're really asking for us to share this with our students, with the entire community, really, and even with adults who may be interested in paid training so that they can find a job, because I believe there are going to be careers or trades builders there, electricians, plumbing, HVAC, concrete, screen installation, and so much more, where, you know, it's almost going to be like a job fair. So if there is anyone who is interested, and if we have any students of our own at in our vocational training programs, it would be nice to share this with those students. I'll give this, Dr. Moore, I'm just going to give this to you, if that's okay. So we can find a way to share that. Also, the Treasure Coast Builders Association shared some concerns that they were not invited to sit on the Workforce Housing Committee, and I thought that that was pretty interesting, because that's what they do. The Treasure Coast Builders Association would like to sit on the Workforce Housing Committee.
I thought we invited somebody from that, no?
No.
Yes, the board established that position, and it defined the individuals who would serve in those particular positions. And keeping in mind, we did that almost a year and a half ago now.
Yeah, well, they're just finding out about it now or sharing it now, whatever. I went, they shared, it's a valid concern, and it would be something that I think worth us looking into with that organization. The next thing that I want to share is STEAM Fest. STEAM Fest is coming up. Everyone knows that I am a huge proponent of STEAM Fest, put on by a very small homeschool co-op called Vero Beach Academy. They're amazing. STEAM Fest is a fantastic event held once a year at the IG Center. This year it is going to be, I think, April 12th. I don't even have the date here. I just have the flyer. I don't have the date. I'm going to pull it up.
The flyer doesn't have the date on it?
No, this isn't the flyer. This is like, I just printed from their website.
It's a Saturday. Would it be the 9th? It's a Saturday.
No.
No.
I'll get it while we look it up, while I look it up. So they're gonna have events such as drones, or it's called Drone Zone Planetarium Experience, 60 hands-on exhibits. The Vero Beach Museum of Art is going to be there with a walkthrough art project. They are going to have the Mad Science Show once again, as they've had in their previous years. They're gonna have food, obviously. Rhythm Round, which I think is something new. Some very specific events that parents can sign their kids up for, such as Art Bots, which is learning about robotics and creating their own moving robot out of found objects and motors, which is so exciting. Force and motion, string art, and so many more. So I definitely wanted to plug that experience for anyone who is interested. Tickets are now on sale at steamfest.com or indianriversteamfest.com. Sorry, indianriversteamfest.com. In the past, our schools have participated this year. So far, we only have 3 schools. Dr. Moore, do you have an update on that? Do we have more than 3 schools participating, or is it just 3 schools?
Through the chair, we will fully participate as we have in past years. It's in April, but we'll make sure they're there.
Okay. So I highly recommend everybody go. Another event that was shared with me was one called treasurecoasteggdrop.com. And it is entitled The Extreme Easter Egg Drop on Saturday, April 16th. It is going to be interesting. 50,000 eggs will be dropped by a helicopter from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's a free event, food, music, games, and more. Just want to share some wonderful events. Doesn't say where. It just says treasurecoasteggdrop.com.
All over the entire
Eggs are going to be falling from the sky, and you don't know where.
But it's really.
Chicken Little has come to life.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
The sky is falling.
They are looking for some participants if anybody is interested. So with that said, that's it.
Okay, did you find out the date of
I'm getting it
Steamfest?
now.
Okay. March 12th.
For what, Steamfest? March 12th. Oh, thank you.
It's coming right up. Okay. Mr. Barefoot, would you like to go next?
Go ahead.
We are at member matters. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, the only thing, and I could have mentioned it earlier, but the entrepreneurship ecosystem symposium that was organized by Ms. Emerson and Tom Lang. It was. I only wish there were more people here. The job done. Speakers in the breakout room was terrific. Dr. Jones was there. Dr. Moore, obviously. And Ms. Berenberg was there as well. So that was, hopefully that's the of putting a real focus on entrepreneurial thought and action, and we can be a leader, partnering with the student as well as whatever. So it was a good first step. That's really it, Mrs. Bear.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Schiff?
I don't have a lot because there were some great activities, and unfortunately, I had to miss most of them from prior. But there was MCAN, there was the Entrepreneur Night that Mr. Barefoot just mentioned. Also, there was the Family Fun Day last Saturday, which I don't know if any of you made it to, but if you did, I'll leave it to you to talk to.
Sorry.
Because most of these I have not been able to make lately. I will say that I've been active on the FSBA Equity Committee, which has been involved in creating a mission statement to go before membership, perhaps at the June meeting.
Okay.
The other thing about that is they're also developing a question for the nominating committee to be able to ask to incoming leadership around equity issues, which we know has been a big thing around FSBA this past year. To that end, before we switched our meetings from Tuesdays to Mondays, and I am on the nominating committee for FSBA, and that meets now on April 10th, which is now one of our meeting days, so I will not be available that day, just letting you all know about that.
Okay.
So, but it's senior season, so for graduating seniors, there's a ton of stuff to do, so please check your Canvas sites. Parents, check the sites. We're in the last throes of scholarship applications for seniors. Many of them have been missed, but there are some that are still available. And the schools are also putting out links to scholarships that are not district-specific, but are nationwide, actually, where you can link up to get assorted. There's all kinds of scholarships. I've been looking at a lot of them. It's also time to get your cap and gown. And I believe there will be a senior day soon for seniors to get all the information that they need. Please remember to bring that home to your parents, because that's all the information about what parents also need to be prepared for. So seniors, we're excited for you, and we're counting on you. And keep us posted. That's it.
Thank you. Dr. Jones?
Again, congratulations to girls weightlifting from Vero Beach, and also girls basketball. Vero Beach made it to the semifinals with a first-year coach, and I was going to go on Saturday if they won, but they didn't win, but they're just so very proud of that team. Scholarships, a lot of the local ones are still due March 15th. I'm working with the Wilson Scholarship and putting that information out quite a bit to the ADs and the counselors at the high schools.
I think I mentioned this last time, but I attended the Snowflake Ball with the transition classes from both Vero and Sebastian, and it was wonderful. The Family Fun Day, Dr. Cowie and Safer, it really was a lot of fun. And I saw a lot of parents, a lot of students, you know, different activities too. And one of the really good activities was with our SROs, and it was just for parents only to go in to see what their students may be doing on an iPad or a cell phone or whatever else you have. And I think that it would be good for our principals and assistant principals also. Mr. Barefoot, you didn't say this too much, but that ecosystem and that CTE with you and Miss Emerson and Mr. Lang, it was really, really good. I was just amazed at everything that was set up. You had a great speech on entrepreneurship and looking at their ecosystems and keeping our students in our area and getting them ready as they move forward, and thought they did a great job. So, and I think we talked a little bit about this last time with the science fair, but again, great job, and I was part of the elementary awards, and it was a great night. Thank you.
Okay, so I actually stopped into the regional weightlifting with you, Doc, for the girls, and I was so impressed. That's why I asked if they could be honored here tonight. And I asked if all students that have won at the state level could be honored in the future, so we're going to be doing more of that. I also attended the Little Mermaid show at Vero Beach High School, which was the whole school can try out for this show, and they got real costumes from wherever, but they were very impressive, and I imagine pretty expensive. But Dee Rose is the theater teacher there, and she is retiring after 35 years. She actually taught my daughter 22 years ago. My daughter started in her program, and so I was just thrilled to be able to be there and bring my grandson, who stayed up till 10 at night, enthralled with those costumes. So the kids did a great job. The voices were amazing. Went to Sebastian River High School and went to the ESE class that they have there that are students that are after 18 years old. And I went to the apartment that they've set up, and they have some needs, and I just want to put it out there. They are learning how to make a bed, so they had a bed with everything all made, and Lindsay showed me around and showed me everything they have to do on their apartment to learn the skills that they need to learn. And she told me about them with their table. They have a beautiful dining room table, but they had no place settings, no placemats, nothing. So I asked the teacher about it, and she has a wish list out there that she has put out there for a while now on Amazon. So if anybody is interested in that wish list, I'm going to ask that the superintendent get that information out. But it's not very much that she's asking for, but it's certainly they could use it. I also got to go to Sebastian Elementary and see differentiated math lesson, which was great. Seeing the assistant principal in there, seeing the counselors in there, seeing coaches in there, seeing teachers, whatever it takes to help kids get back on track, especially with math, because they've been held behind so much. Osceola stopped in and saw a second grade westward movement Amplify lesson. And the teachers raved about Amplify. And the students in second grade that could tell me all the details about the westward movement, it was impressive. I taught second grade, and I don't remember my second graders having the conversations that we had. So I was really thoroughly impressed with what they're learning in second grade now. I was able to share with them the fact that I actually went to Omaha, Nebraska last year and took pictures of all the westward movement statues. If anyone's ever been to Omaha, they have these gorgeous statues all over the downtown. And I actually took a picture of all of them and was able to send it to the teacher so she could use it. Oslo, I visited there and went through the sixth grade classes. I had some concerns about things that were happening and being heard about, so I wanted to make sure that I'd been on that campus a few times to see and walk through. I didn't get an opportunity to go back through the cafeteria or the other places, but I live down the street, so I've kind of driven by at car release time, and thank you, Mr. Seymour, for being there. I saw you. I can pick you out from a mile away. MCAN was awesome. We are starting the Faces project. That's why all the faces are out in the front. And the reason why we don't have them pasted on our schools is not because we're not helping with this project. It's because we have anti-graffiti paint. and they will not stick to our buildings. So that's good, the paint works. But we will be putting up these faces in other locations in our school district. And we are still looking for buildings out in the community to paste faces up. So if you know of a building that you would like to have us do that for, I know MCAN's doing that, but if you could probably send that to us, we could get it to them. And Family Fun Day was wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Cowie. What a turnout. You know, it was nice that it was a beautiful day, too. So that helped out. But it was nice to see the variety of different groups that you had there and supporting that. So thank you for organizing that. Entrepreneurial CTE. Thank you for finally getting CTE highlighted more and more. And let's continue to do that and show kids that there are other pathways other than to go to just to college, but there are other pathways that they can pursue in life. And I also am on FSBA, a couple of different committees now, because I went to the FSBA Legislative Liaison meeting in Tallahassee, and all of a sudden found out I was on all these little things I didn't know I was on. So that was nice. One of them was leadership and talking about how they want to proceed with the training that we went through, and how that could be kind of monitored and changed and updated for future board members. So that any input that you have for that, you know, get it to Nancy so we can get it to them. And that's all I have. All right. So at that point, I believe we are to the superintendent's closing.
Just thank all our board members and community for coming out and engaging in this conversation. I know it was a difficult conversation. But just proud of how we conducted ourselves in the midst of that particular conversation. Family Fun Day, Dr. Cobb, by the time I got there, everything that was being passed out and free was already gone. But to see the joy and appreciation on everyone's faces is absolutely outstanding. And I can't go through all the events that I've been to, but as I reflect through over the course of the last month, just the caliber and quality of who we are as a community and who are leading these initiatives really is powerful. So a lot of absolutely outstanding work taking place. Very, very appreciative of all of that hard work. We will have a workshop prior to spring break, but we will not have another business meeting prior to spring break. So if this is the only time you tune into the School District of Indian River County, I would hope everyone have a restful and joyful spring break. Thank you.
Okay. Unless anyone has an objection, I'd like to close the meeting at 8:38. Thank you all.